We're on.
Breathtaking.
It's almost as good as Steve's.
Hey,
You're on.
got mine this morning.
We're on.
Good evening, Facebook Live and Bourbon DS podcast. We've got some special guests here. Volume down. Volume down, please.
Really?
We're going to be sharing this. We've got Rick Rodriguez here, Master Blender from CAO. That's the official title is Master Blender, Brand Ambassador, all that is CAO.
For right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Jonathan Herring, the sales rep for this area for General Cigars, and Jake Sanders, which is sharing on Rick's phone.
Yeah.
And Rick, are we going to do Rick or Ricky?
Ricky is for the friends, and
So Ricky it is. Okay, got it. Okay.
We heard some rumors and we didn't know.
Ricky, bro.
Message received.
Yeah.
Love it. So we love that everyone is tuned in tonight. Happy Whiskey Wednesday, and we're glad to have you here in the garage with us. We'll get into a little bit of John's background and Ricky's background and why they're here, and you know, the fact that they came into town and that they were gracious enough to bring some whiskey and cigars with them. So I think not only that we're lucky to have them as people here, but you brought everything, really, besides the table and the mic.
It get rust too, so.
Well, we can fill that up real quick. So, as Steve and I and everyone else is sharing, we advise you to do the same. Please share this one. This is going to be a great podcast. And we'll get into the finer details here in a moment. But tell us what you're drinking. Tell us what you're smoking. It's a nice evening in the Midwest. Got up to be, what, mid-70s today?
About 70, yeah.
A couple days. So we're finally into summer, I think. And we have a big smorgasbord of guests here tonight, about 5 or 6 people. So we're glad to have them as well. And we hope that you enjoy this podcast as much as we are going to.
Yeah. All right. Oh, shit.
What are you doing?
Destroyed everything.
Steve, did you get the,
I did just pour a double.
alright.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. All right. Ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, it's a way to start the show here.
Happy Whiskey Wednesday. That was dead.
Wow.
It's all right.
That was really dead.
That's worse.
Yeah.
That was okay. That's because they're filled.
Just walk
They're
away.
full glasses.
Just walk away.
Anyways, happy Whiskey Wednesday, everyone. I'm Jake Sanders, along with Steve Crane, and we make up the Bourbon and BS podcast, and we are so happy to have you as listeners and viewers on our Facebook Live and on a number of other things, YouTube, in iTunes,
iTunes, Spotify. I'm going to
Yeah.
try to get on Pandora. Apparently that's a thing now. Pandora does podcasts as well.
And if you have Android and you hate Apple, then Overcast.
Overcast, yeah.
So, but thank you everyone for tuning in. It's a great podcast. It's episode 64. 64. And we have Ricky Rodriguez from CAO Cigars, Master Blender, correct?
Yes.
It's amazing,
Thank you so
man.
much for allowing me to share this night with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's our honor.
To this.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes. Thank you for being here, guys. And Jonathan Herring for the Midwest sales rep for General Cigars. Did I
Yes,
get
sir.
that correct?
Yeah.
Good. I only heard that once, and I think I got it correct. That never happens.
You can roll back the tape if you want.
No, it's okay.
He killed it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
good.
did. No, it's
I'm
good.
good.
It's good.
He was
So-
right on.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a little whiskey. We're going to talk about cigars, as you know, and then we're going to have a life topic. So Jonathan and Ricky was gracious enough to bring kind of a plethora of whiskeys around the table, but what we're going to be focusing on tonight is Woodford Double Edge. You may have heard it in recent years. It's become kind of a big phenomenon within Woodford, and but they have a different smorgasbord here on the table here. We have a Maker's Mark pick by, I believe,
It's Match Cigar Bar in Louisville, Kentucky,
Very
right
nice.
across the river.
and then we all have Blanton's, which everyone knows what that is. And then I don't think that we're able to disclose what we're smoking, so what are we going to call
I already
this?
posted
No,
on Facebook.
yeah, you can't.
It's out there.
Yeah.
Sessions.
Yeah, so you're smoking the
Thank
new
you.
session cigar.
Wow.
It's going to come out to the market maybe in August, maybe
Wow.
September.
So it'll debut
after,
it. Yeah.
right at the trade show where Blends a Cigar.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I hope you guys like it. I'm smoking it right now. I love it, but it's up to you guys to enjoy your cigars the way you enjoy your cigars.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't like it, okay, with me, as long as you continue to try other cigars that we make. So just don't give up on CAO. So never give up on any line because you smoked one cigar.
I agree.
So you just have to smoke it 2 or 3 times before you make your decision. I like it or don't like it. One time, you can't do that. You can't do that.
That's the one cigar, but I think also with anything, a lot of times, it's even like we talk about that with distilleries, you know, it's the same thing. I mean, you're gonna put out multiple products, and they're not always going to have like this similar characteristic throughout all of them.
Right.
And a lot of people think that way, but especially when you get as big as, you know, CAO is, some of the other brands, you know, we get that on the retail side. They come in and it's just like, you know, oh, we got this new CAO. And I don't like CAOs. And like, oh, what have you had? And like, I had a CAO Gold.
Right.
And you're like, oh, what did you like about it? I don't know, it's a little mild for me. You're like, well, how about the Brasilia? Or how about a Flathead? They're like, CAO, they just don't open themselves up to it. And I mean, you do, you sell yourself short because you guys are using just tobaccos from all over the world.
You have to understand, it's like going to a restaurant. If you go to a steakhouse and you happen to take the dinner special fish, you're going to judge that restaurant. You didn't like that fish, but they're not known for that. Go back into that restaurant, but a lot of people will say, I'm never going to go back to that steakhouse. Why? I ate a piece of fish that I don't like. Really? So always give every manufacturer another try. And another try, and another try. Maybe you'll find something that you like.
As a sales rep, it's really nice too with CAO because you have, like you said, the Gold, the Columbia. You have some really nice mild cigars, into really nice mediums with the Pilon, and then you go really full bodied with some of the stuff. So it's really nice to go that whole range. We have some to sell everyone at events and stuff. So I like that. It's tough when it's kind of one-dimensional.
Well, I think you can tell the difference with CAO, you know, we can talk about that briefly, is that before you were in the position you were in, and when it was owned by the family, I mean, they had some staples that you all kept going. I mean, the world, before you added the Columbia to it, I mean, you had these
America,
staples.
the Italian, the Columbia, I mean, the Brasilia, go back to the La Chavieta.
Yeah.
It's a great cigar that it just falls off the shelf because we're launching so many cigars, it just falls off the shelf. But if you buy it, enjoy the cigar. It has nothing to do with it. It's a great blend. It took the market by lightning when they introduced that cigar. For that price point, that flavor, that design, that box, like, and you were going to sell it for $7? Yes.
It's a killer stick. It is a killer stick, but again, same thing with us. We don't sell it anymore because it fell off. And then someone will start asking for it, and I think a lot of times you'll see like a rating that just pops up out of nowhere from any of the publications. They do a rating on it, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I forgot about that cigar." And they go back to it, and all of a sudden you get asked for it for 2-3 months at a time.
Yeah.
So when you come to the show this year, I'm going to do a Hall of Fame blend for CAO. And there's a blends that you need to revisit. And so we're going to decide on 7 blends right now, from Gold to the Cameroon to MX2. All these cigars are highly rated, but they just fell out the table.
Yeah, Cameron's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
And everybody knows I don't like Cameroon.
He always tells me to shut the fuck up about Cameron.
But I can make a Cameroon cigar, like a chef.
Yeah, it's so good.
If you show any chef the menu of that restaurant, do you like everything on the menu? No. I hate fish. But you have 3 fish dinners. I can cook anything, but I don't buy everything.
Yeah.
So it's up to this.
Sorry, no, you
No, you're
can't.
good. I'm out.
You can have some of mine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't have a whole lot, I'm sorry.
All right, so let's talk about the whiskey before the one we're talking about is all gone here.
Well, no, it's. Do you want to do that or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's do it.
We got our sponsor. We got our sponsor.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, So we're not really provided by the Tinder Box tonight, but we do have
Well, this
flat
relationship, we'll say that, is all through the Tinder Box at
yeah.
Easton, absolutely.
That's very true.
So we will be carrying the sessions at some point,
Yeah.
no time soon.
Yeah.
But thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, and thank you, Altadis Cigar Company, for always showing faith in us and really being the first ones to show us grace and support us. So
We have
thank
Paul
you.
Waller tuned in on Facebook already, so he's always, you know, at first when we had a rep or someone from a company come on, I was like texting him like, hey man, like, is it cool if we have all Alec Bradley, all whatever it was? And he's like, yeah man, that's totally fine. Like it's, he's like, we're just trying to support you. If you guys have a night where you don't, you know, at least mention us, that's all we really need. So they're all right with that.
And we do have some news about BS Cigars, don't we, Steve?
We have some gold Toros coming back in, so
Finally!
we're having some issues, and Ricky probably knows how this works sometimes, is that there's a part of the tobacco plant that's up there, 5th, 6th priming. Some people call it the medio tiempo, and Agnorsa leaf does utilize that when they can. The smaller leaves at the top doesn't always grow on the tobacco plants, so our BS Gold does include some of that tobacco. And so we've had some delays in production because of that. Because again, we're one of the smaller guys, so if they need that on some of their major produced brands, we're kind of, I mean, they don't push us way off, but they're like, hey, we're not happy, we haven't really validated this tobacco, you know. And so like this week they've got another container coming in, but this is almost 8 weeks after we placed the order for a couple of sizes, but we do have 1,000 of the BS Gold Toros coming in.
I love that because that shows you the partnership that you have relies on trust.
Yeah.
Trust you that you're going to buy it. Trust me that I want to make the same cigar. So if you have to wait. I love that because we know we can definitely just so you know, they don't know. Shove this in, you know, it's going to damage that line, your company, your shop. So I love that they say.
And we've worked on that with them because I think that, you know, we rolled in their Miami factory, we rolled in their Nicaragua factory, and the Nicaraguan product was not quite the same. It's because we had other people overseeing it, and they weren't bad cigars, but they weren't quite the same as what we had blended with them. And so you had that happen. And we've had a couple batches where we're just like, no. In fact, we had 1,000 cigars on order just because we were trying to do a fill-in and try to pace it out. Well, they sent us 3 samples of it, and we're like, these are still plugged. Like, what's going on? And Paul Palmer, he's like, all right, give me a couple days. He went back, and he's like, I'm rejecting the whole thing.
Bro, I love that.
And it's unfortunate to the customers that are doing it, but to your point, Rick, it's the fact that you're not going to put cigars just out there to get it out there. And hey, they're close.
Exactly.
Because you're going to lose people. And we've had people that have questioned our blend, and I think you guys went through that. You know, CAO did, especially when General took over the lines. You almost had to resell and get people to be like, no, the Brazilian is the same. Yeah, it's a different factory, but we're doing the same blend. We're doing, we bought the blend.
It's the same factory, but it's a process that we learned. I'll share a story. When Benji and I first...
And Benji, for everyone out there,
is Benji Menendez that taught me what I do today, how to blend a cigar. So General Cigar approached Benji, says, take Ricky to the CEO factory. We think we're going to purchase that factory. So just check it out, see what they do. We walked into the back of the factory and we saw a process. And Benji said, enough, let's go. And we went to the front and Benji says, we've seen your factory, we will make a report. And we left. I said, Benji, what did you see? You didn't see it. I saw it. He said, that process is wrong for us. So what are you going to do? If you take over the factory, are you going to change that process or to use the old process? Because if you change it, you're going to change that blend.
Yeah.
It was a Brazilian. So we're using that same process that we don't believe in, but it works for that cigar. So who of us to say, we're going to change this process. If I change it, I want to change the cigar. So now today, we're doing the same process they were doing 18 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a process, not bad, not good, it's not our process.
I got you.
Okay?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you
Everybody,
have to sell,
every manufacturer had their own process tobacco.
Yeah.
So that cigar is when I realized why people like cigars. A friend of mine that I worked with gave me one, and I was like, I'm gonna be a man and cut grass at home and smoke a cigar. That's gonna be cool.
Wow.
I lit that thing up. I took about 2 puffs, and I was like, I'm not cutting grass today. And I went to my porch and I sat there and smoked that whole thing. And I was like, I get it now, because I had puffs of cigars and this cigar and that cigar, and that one clicked for me.
Really?
And then the very next day, I'm in my local cigar shop, and yeah, never looked back. That Brazilian is always special to me.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, I get to sell it now. And that's
I think it's a Hall of Fame blend.
yeah.
It really
If
is.
they have a Hall of Fame of blends, not master blenders, a Hall of Fame blend, Brasilia would be there like A5A for Ponte, for drums.
Yeah.
So it's a Hall of Fame blend.
You said that was like your original go-to, right?
Yeah, I had before I started working at the Tinder Box. That was, you know, you always have customers that come in and it's just like, hey, how many you need today? You don't even ask, you know, what they're smoking. It's like I would come in, get 3 Brazilias, go hit the patio, you know, and maybe in a day or two go back and be like, hey, I need 3 more.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things that I burned through those like crazy back in the day. And then you, Ricky, made it even better, I'll say, with the Carnival.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a sensitive subject for a lot of our customers, a lot of listeners probably out there, because you made it maybe better, in my opinion, and then took it away from us.
Yeah. I think it's gonna come back.
You
So,
said
yeah,
that for
yeah,
4 years.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna come back.
I
know it's
It's
coming
lingering.
back. I
It's
know,
every time.
yeah, I know for a fact it's coming back, so. Yeah,
Wow,
so-
breaking news here on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, solid maybe from Ricky Rodriguez that the Carnival may come back. Stay tuned. All right, let's do the bourbon here.
All right, so, Jonathan and Ricky brought the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It only comes in a pint, so for you that don't know, it's a 375 milliliter bottle. It was first introduced to the market in 2015, where Woodford, if you ever go to the distillery, they, every year there's some kind of pint or, you know, smaller bottle that they're doing experimentation on, or that they're trying out. And they originally did that with the rye, and then it became a full-fledged member of their whiskey line, pretty much. They did that with the malt, they've done it with double oak, they've done it with a finished rye, so on and so forth. But so this really was kind of the shock that like was heard around the world at the distillery, and so they've kept bringing it back every year. So you know, it's been 4 years since this was first introduced, and now it's, you know, what it is today, and it's becoming more of a sensation more than anything. But it is only available at the distillery, and
Nice.
yeah,
That's
and
a huge gift. Thank you.
What's the price point?
50.
yeah. So, and it is kind of pricey for a pint, but you know, for being
Well worth it.
yeah, I think it
It is
is.
delicious.
And as I'm speaking right now, this is the first night that I'm trying it. So again, I thank you, Jonathan and Ricky, for bringing it.
I've saved it for a year for this podcast, a half a pint that I brought. So
Yeah, you talked about it, and then when we talked more recently, you're like, I think I might need to bring something else. And I'm like, why? He's like, I
Can't stay
don't
out
have
of
a
it.
full bottle anymore. I'm like, that's all right. That's all right.
I've tried.
Well, and I know why after smelling it and tasting it,
Right.
but just some of the vitals of it, you know, it's 45% or 0.2% alcohol, so it's 90.4 proof. And then what's cool about it is the reason why it's called double oaked is that so Woodford takes their original mash bill, their original bourbon, and then some of you might ask about what the double oaked is. The double oaked is then transferred into a heavily toasted barrel and lightly charred barrel. So for 1 year. So what they do again is with the double oak, they do that one more step. So this is aged an additional 2 years, but transferred between 3 different barrels. So you keep getting that added punch of the oak. You keep getting that initial punch of the, you know, the heavily toasted light char, and that brings out, to me, on the nose, it brings out a lot of those brown sugar notes. It's a heavily vanilla concentrated smell for me. It's just delicious smelling for me. And you know, some people might say that regular Woodford is, you know, and it's, you know, always available, and that it's kind of, you know, gone downhill just because you have all these premium whiskeys out there. But people forget that Woodford, not too long ago, was considered like high shelf.
Right.
So for them to come to this point, I think it's amazing. I think it tastes, it's got it goes from a vanilla concentrate and brown sugar to toffee and almost my weird note of the night is like tiramisu. That's what it tastes like to me. So that's what I'm getting out of
That's how you preface that with weird note.
because I know everybody's gonna laugh anyway, so I might as
It's got a
well
little spice
brace
to it, too.
myself.
It's got like a warm spice to it.
Yeah, my weird buying story is my wife and I will go to distilleries on a Saturday if we're both home, and so I went.
Time out. Your what?
My wife, yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
by the way.
bro.
My wife,
yeah.
When was that?
It's like a week or two ago.
And this is April 6th.
Wow.
So, not long, yeah.
Nice.
So, but
Yeah.
so we go and whatever I
You
like.
just shrugged that
Yeah.
off. Is she not listening?
She's watching it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What would you do, Steve? Like I
We're really happy together if I ever got married like I did before once. No, I'm
We all
very happy about
I
it.
forgot that happened.
I'm the luckiest guy. I'm very, very happy. And she lets me go out and do things like this and be on the road all the time, so I'm very, very lucky. There's not a lot of ladies that would do that. But
You're working right now,
I'm working right now. It's tough.
as is Ricky.
Don't make Ricky make bourbon spit out his nose.
So every time I go to the distillery, though, I pick whatever I like the most in the tasting and buy it. And Woodford, nothing really impressed me that much, so I'm like, I don't know which one to buy. And the guy working there was like, "You're buying this. Like, you've got to buy this. It'll be gone tomorrow. You know, buy it." So I bought it, and I was very, very impressed. But Woodford was not, for whatever reason, really my taste, but this hit the mark.
Do you like the regular double oak?
I don't really like. I didn't really care for any
You
of
didn't
it. To
care
be
for it?
honest, yeah. You know, double oak to me was missing whatever this has, and but I was incredibly impressed by those.
What do you think, Ricky?
Very good, very good. It's just, to me, I was impressed in the barrels and all that, so I
Yeah.
love that. I love the stories behind this blending.
Yeah, and it's amazing because for those that don't know, Woodford's a brown forming product, so it's also associated with Old Forester. And they're the only, actually one of the main distilleries in the entire world that actually have their own cooperage. So they make their own barrels, and then they age them in their own barrels, where a lot of other
The same
distilleries.
The same wood?
Well, I'm not sure, well, white oak, yes,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
same wood,
It has to be?
yeah,
Yep.
for bourbon,
The new oak barrels.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good note for anyone that doesn't really follow us or doesn't. I mean, it's always the virgin white oak barrels,
Yes.
and then there's a whole lifespan beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, once, and so I do have a question for if you know this, Jake, or anyone else knows this. You know, you say they're taking it from one barrel to the other,
Yeah.
to another.
Yeah.
Those, all three of those barrels, are they virgin white oak?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
that's the cost
So,
of it.
that's
I was
what
gonna
it-
say, that's part of the cost there, is that they're doing this, you know, basically 3 times with that. Not
Yeah.
only the man hours, but then also they're going through 3 barrels that they'll never use again, and then they sell them off.
Yeah.
To who?
To scotches, wineries.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
A big thing now
Irish.
is,
The diesel whiskey road.
a big thing now is they're going to, like maple syrup places. I don't know what you call those places.
Maple syrup places.
Yeah.
Good.
Conglomerate. Yeah, up in Vermont.
I believe
Conglomerate, yeah.
I believe it's called Serpery.
Conglomerates.
Serpery.
Yeah,
Oh,
Serpery.
that's right.
I like that though.
Love that.
Pretty sure that's
I
right.
If I'm
love
not
that
mistaken,
on
though,
t-shirt.
there is
I'm
there's another
Serpery.
step that they go to rum factories also,
Say
like
that
after
2 times.
Scotland
You had too
and
much
Ireland.
Some of them
Uh,
go
All right.
yeah.
Some of them go to Rome, yeah.
No, I'm saying, yeah, some of them, after they go over to Scotland and everything, they'll actually then be shipped down to rum manufacturers down in the Central
Well,
America.
we have a guest that just came back from Cuba.
That's right.
He has something to say about rum, cigars.
Brent Grimsley, who is a multi-time guest, is in the garage as well.
Yeah. I miss Brad. I'm glad to see
He's
Brad
right
here.
there.
That's why I said
He's
this.
been in Cuba.
Like past
He's
tense.
been in Cuba 13 times this year.
Quite a crowd in here though. It's like a cooking show or something.
Yeah.
It's like people staring
Live
at you.
audience.
Yeah. Don't look into their eyes. No, but it's cool. That, you know, what I like about Woodford, if you've never been to Woodford Distillery, is that it's in the heart of pretty much bluegrass land. I mean, it's right on the Bluegrass Parkway. It's intertwined in these $1 million horse farms. I mean, probably, you know, you don't know. Just it's amazing, and the scenery is beautiful, and the old distillery, the old part of the distillery is made out of old limestone, and it's just gorgeous.
So they do a lot of the tastings, and
Yes.
it's really beautiful.
Like,
yeah.
Are these places in dry counties? that
Woodford
you
is
can't-
not.
No, okay.
Woodford is not. Now, Jack Daniels is in a dry county.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you can't sample on property?
Well, now you can. They've reversed that, but it
Okay,
used to be
okay,
that you
okay,
couldn't.
okay.
Interesting.
But it's interesting enough,
Yeah.
most of Kentucky, most of the counties in Kentucky are dry.
Yeah.
Especially, I think Bourbon County, of all places, is dry.
So
So,
it's kind of like Nicaragua, you can't smoke a cigar.
Is that right?
what?
We make them. You can't smoke.
Is that
The whole
true?
country?
No, you can't. It's like that.
Oh, if you
Oh,
could,
it's like
yeah,
that,
like,
yes.
Jesus, what?
So, dry
Also,
camera.
I've been to
Yeah.
Nicaragua, and I've
Hey,
broke the
You're
law.
breaking
You
the
know
law.
what we do?
You don't want to end up in one of
Old
the prisons.
facts, yeah.
No.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Looks like Nicaragua's
Does
really
everybody like
cool.
it? Do you like it, Steve?
I actually really do like this. Like, I mean, I agree with your notes. I think they're good. Like I said, I get a little bit of a spice to it. It's not a heat, but it's got a nice spice to it. I don't know. It goes well with the cigar too.
Guys are missing out.
Yeah, it's really good, guys.
Sam.
Cheers to everyone.
No, but I think the transferring of the barrels just adds that extra depth in the right wood notes. That I think that the double oak is really, really good, but it's kind of perfumey to me. Some people might agree, some people might disagree, but I think exactly what Jonathan said this is exactly what double oak was missing.
Well, it says that it's finished in heavy toasted new oak. That's the third one. The third barrel is
That's
a.
both.
The second two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So standard new oak and then they heavily toast the new oak.
Yeah.
So they're charring it, is that what that means?
So they toast it,
Mhm.
but it's not like the alligator skin
Okay.
char, and then they lightly char it.
Interesting.
So it's and that's where like a lot of these toasted barrels, like Michter's is famous for their toasted barrel rye and even their bourbon that they do. But it's kind of it's not heavily charred, but it's heavily toasted.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's bringing out the lighter notes of the wood instead of the heavy, dark, rich notes. But since they do it twice,
I love the packaging.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool bottle. You can have that, Ricky. I'll sign it for you.
I used to do that.
Do you know what's interesting about that
I
glass?
find it in my trash later.
Is
Interesting.
is this glass, the glass from the bottles that they're made out of, it comes from Zanesville, Ohio. Just east of here, about what, 30, 35 minutes,
Yeah.
40 minutes?
Hour,
Hour, yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
There's some droplets in there.
Oh, go ahead.
Get it out.
Do it.
As you.
Do you want to try it, anyone?
I mean, yeah.
What do you guys think of
Too late now.
going with this cigar, and then we can get kind of on the cigar and what we're smoking. But I mean, as far as the pairing,
Just great.
I think it's
Yeah.
a great pairing.
yeah,
It just fits right.
Yeah, it's perfect. I really do. I think it's perfect. And it's interesting. I'm not allowed to say what goes into it, right, Ricky? Like
No,
the spec-
no,
okay,
no, no,
okay,
no,
I'll leave that out. But
yeah.
what you told me,
Yeah,
because it was
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
As soon
yeah.
as soon as I lit it up, Steve, I looked at Ricky. I was
I
like,
heard you.
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah,
I was
What
like,
we're saying to you, guys out or girls out there, we want you to experience that cigar yourself. So without kind of getting away from blends, meaning when somebody walks in, what's your blend? Okay, I can rattle off the blend.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? Because we're not doing a great job as a manufacturer to allow you to smoke the blend.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you going through time and you only tasted pizza all your life, you never had tomato separate, you never had bread separate, you never had cheese separate. All your experience is through that pizza. So what is that tomato sauce bring to the table? I don't know. I can't separate it. So, to me, to say the blend is Nicaragua, Mexico, and the DR. Okay, I just rattle off 3 countries. What does that mean to you? What did that blend bring to that cigar? We don't know, because we're not doing our job and allowing you to taste fumas. All right, so there's 3 fumas. Those are and you smoke them, and then combine them.
What are
What's a fuma?
fumas?
A fuma is when we receive a tobacco from the farm, we'll roll that tobacco leaf in 1 cigar. It's called a fuma. So really a small cigar, and we smoke it. All right, we take some notes in our head: spicy, sweet, full body, medium body, light body. So you know that. So every tobacco has that taste, the profile, the blend, or the body of that tobacco. So you know. So it's like a chef. I'm a chef. Instead of working with steak and chicken and beef, fish, I work with tobacco. So I know if you want me to create a mild cigar and has a flavor note of sweetness, I know not to reach for that spice called Nicaragua. So as a chef, I love sugar and I love beef, but that combination would never work.
Right.
If I say, come to my house, I'm going to cook you a steak with sugar on it, it would never taste good. But sugar alone, great. Steak alone, great. But all we're doing is enhancing that flavor through the tobacco. So it's amazing.
It's interesting too, because if for those watching, it's something, and for those of you that are listening to audio, I keep kind of going back and forth, because Ricky gave me basically the blend one before what's going to be released, and there are very subtle differences, and there was, he told me that, what they changed in it, as far as the process and what they put in the cigar, very, very little. I'm talking like very minor changes, and I'm kind of going back and forth, just because, like you would do, right, when you're testing it, you probably did that with these 2, you're like, all right, let me go back to the other one, let me go back to the other one. You can only do it for so long, because then you start kind of frying the palate a little bit, but it's interesting how even just drinking something like this, the Double Oak.
Which one it pairs with?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes.
It pairs with both,
Yeah.
but it changes you called it number 2, so it's not the number 1, if you will, which is what everyone else is smoking, but
Yes.
number 2, it actually takes away, I think that one we talked about has a little more spice to it, and I think because I'm getting a little bit of spice from the bourbon, it actually has balanced. Yeah, balanced it out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
But
interesting.
it is, the secret behind the scenes is we're all using the same tobaccos. Fuente, Padron, CAO, Davidoff. They're all using, our process allows us to create different flavors, different bodies, different colors through fermentation and aging. So we can, as 4 guys sitting at a table, if I give you the same tobacco, filler, binder, and wrapper, go back to your factories and make him a cigar. He's gonna say, bro, I'm gonna make a mild cigar. Well, I think the market is medium body. You're gonna say, oh, it's a full body cigar. So we can use the same tobacco and create 3 or 4 different cigars.
So you said the same tobacco there. What the processes of how you age the tobacco or how you treat the tobacco? Like with the same blend, you can make vastly different cigars as well, right? With the same amounts of tobacco in this cigar, but just with different processes.
Exactly. So really the secret is fermentation.
Right.
That is an area, if you're a Rocky Patel or a AJ Fernandez and you visit CO factory, I want to see everything. We'll show you everything, but what? Fermentation.
That's lock and key.
Oh, yeah, because that is our secret. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I show you that, you can definitely make that cigar. So it's hard for us to make a cigar, even if I taste it.
Crazy.
And I know exactly the components. The fillers, the primings, the binder, and the wrapper. I cannot produce a cigar because I don't know your fermentation, the temperatures,
Yeah.
and how long. And so I don't
You know what's amazing about that, Ricky? I don't know if you know this, but bourbon's the same way. These master blenders of whiskey and mostly bourbon, they Yeah,
use
they're-
the same ingredients.
Well, it's yeast though. Their yeast is under lock and key because of the fermentation
Literally
process.
under lock and key.
Yeah.
And
So
they have it
it-
in different locations and all this kind of stuff.
So it's just amazing, you know, I never knew that about
Oh, yeah.
cigars either, so it's just, that just proves our point of how close these two are related.
There's 3 growers that produce about 70 to 80% of all tobaccos in your shop.
Yeah.
Those 3 growers dominate everything. And so it's gonna be Oliva, it's gonna be Placentia, and the Troll family in Connecticut. They control everything. And so we have, you know, other growers, but these guys, so that is the tobacco we're all using because we have access to major amounts of that tobacco. So we're going to ferment it. And so when you talk to me and I say, oh, I'm taking that temperature up to 130 degrees before I flip it, Rocky can come here the next day, or whatever you learned from Ricky, forget it. Because I want to take the temperature into 150 degrees. It's right for him, and what I do is right for us.
So does that process change, like, so that's a good point, because, so if you're talking about like Rocky versus CAO, right, versus Ricky, it's, you guys.
Rocky versus Ricky.
Ricky versus Rocky. Do you always do the same fermentation, or is this a trial and error for different types of tobacco that you have developed? So it's coming from Connecticut, you do a certain fermentation process. If it's coming from the DR, so you know, or like Corojo versus Criollo.
Yes.
So there's a different fermentation
yeah,
for
for
each
sure.
seed, for each region, and all that stuff.
It's temperature and the length of time
Yeah.
you're going to ferment that tobacco. Anywhere from 9 months. AJ is selling to us. He ferments for 3 years. Like, what?
It's impressive.
It really is to control that fermentation for 3 years. That's a reason he is just taking off.
Oh, yeah.
So, to us, we're fermenting tobacco from anywhere from 9 months to a year.
Okay.
We're done. We're done.
For those that don't know, so fermenting is just the tobacco sitting in the warehouses, right, or the
It's
barn?
called a cologne.
Yeah.
No.
So when you go into the factory and see, you say to anybody as tries the factory, I want to see your fermentation process. Welcome.
Yeah.
I'll show you everything. When you say, I want to see your cologne, stop. Who do you work for? Why are you here?
Yeah.
No. So
I'll be
that's
sure to do that.
So you have about a hand of tobacco, about 20 to 25 leaves, and we start to ferment it. So we dip it in water and start to stack it. And so we stack it from this wall and to about that wall, and then about maybe 5 to 6 feet high, and about from your to this, and that's called a cologne. It's
Okay.
about 5,000 pounds of raw tobacco
Wow.
fermenting.
Now, those typically done in circles like you talked about?
No, that
Okay.
process takes me longer, so this is kind of like a long table.
So the traditional was like you basically are in a circle, is that right?
That's an old technique.
Old technique.
Of Cuba that we're using on the cologne.
Yeah, and I remember that, you can see that picture on
Yes,
the
yes.
marketing,
That
where it's
takes
actually a
it-
circle with, in the middle, there's air, correct?
Yes, but that process takes it double the time. So
Yeah.
that tobacco takes me 18 months to 20 months to ferment because it's lower in temperature, because of weight. I can't put enough tobacco in that circle of cologne for the weight, so it raises the
To be
temperature.
structurally sound?
Yes,
Okay.
it raises the temperature very slowly, so
Yeah.
it takes it double the time. So that's the reason the Cubans give it up on it, because it costs too much money.
So normally it's in like more of like a rectangular shape,
Right.
correct?
Yeah,
So it's just all kind of concentrated.
So
And you do go through and you're actually moving that tobacco throughout the fermentation
when
process.
it reaches that temperature that we want for that tobacco, you break that walk down.
This
So
the middle
we-
temperature?
Yes, exactly.
So imagine like a meat thermometer that you're
Exactly,
sticking
exactly,
in there, down
exactly.
there, you see where
It's
you're
like,
at.
bro, if you ever break.
First row.
I like
If you
it.
ever rake leaves in your yard and you have a pile of leaves, and bro,
Second, you started.
Sorry.
I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna bag it tomorrow morning. You go, back at, you see steam, that's
Yeah.
fermentation. And if you stick your hand in the middle of your leaves, it's going to be hotter than the outside. It's the same thing, it's fermentation.
That's
So
interesting.
all we're doing is weight, heat, and water. That's all the pressure is going to cook the tobacco.
And when it gets to certain that temperature you want,
Temperature, you
now you
break
gotta
it
kind
down.
of break it down,
So what
restack
was-
it.
Exactly, what was the bottom, goes to the middle, what was the middle, goes to the top, what's to the top, goes to the bottom.
What's the typical time frame, if there is an average, what's the typical time frame for everyone listening as far as how often you're doing that rotation?
Depending on when we start the fermentation, if we start it in January, because
Okay.
it's cooler outside, it's going to take us maybe 3 to 5 weeks before we break the bulk down. In August, maybe 2 weeks to a week and a half, break it down, because the temperature is so hot outside, it's going to start to cook the tobacco, you have to break it down.
And then-
Or-
Go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off. So have you noticed, even though that if you do it in the different time frames, that if, say, in August, that you're breaking it down in 2 weeks, have you noticed that the tobacco tastes different still than what it would if it was in 5? Are you allowed to answer that, or?
It does change. It does change.
Ask him in 2 more questions.
Yeah. It is up to us, as a blenders, to seek out the tobacco that is similar to the original blend. Every cigar changes. If you're smoking one cigar for 5 years in a row, oh, it's the same cigar. Really? You think so? I have a time machine. Let's step up. And we're gonna go back to the first year, and you smoke this cigar. Come back, smoke it. This has changed, because it changes is so sudden, you think you're smoking the same cigar. So, yeah, that does change.
I just love that, just because, and I don't want to keep bringing it back to whiskey, but because of the fact that we are talking about natural products here.
Yeah.
And how nature forms it just from temperature and region and just area. It's amazing, and it's so cool
It
to
is.
And
talk
I'll
about.
share this for the other manufacturer, will help the other manufacturer, especially the smaller guys. The smaller guys don't have the money or the time to process a lot of tobacco. For us, if I made that new session cigar, I have to go to my tobacco manager and say, do I have enough tobacco to roll 700 to 800,000 cigars a year for 3 years? If he says no, I can't do it.
Right,
For a General Cigar,
yeah,
a lot of small guys, Senor, you have enough tobacco that'll last you for 6 months. Pray to the gods that the new batch coming into your factory is going to be identical to the old batch.
yeah,
If their farmer says, Senor, a lot of rain,
Yeah,
tobacco is ruined, oh my God, it's going to change. So never give up on that line. Just skip it for a month or two, and he'll introduce another cigar, the same blend, done the right way. So never give up on any small manufacturer saying, bro, I'm smoking your cigar every day, it's different. I just didn't have the money to buy 2 years worth.
Yeah.
So I just roll the dice. Sometimes they can roll that dice, and 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, great tobacco.
yeah,
But once in a while, oh my God, it's horrible.
yeah.
you do those boutique brands you're talking about, and we were talking about it earlier with our BS, which is one of our sponsors too, BS Gold. That's what we're running into. They're delaying it because we've worked on the relationship. And Casa Fernandez, Aganorsa Leaf grows a lot of tobacco.
Right.
They also sell a lot of tobacco, and they make a lot of money off the tobacco they sell. So I mean, when we're trying to do something like that, that's one of the reasons why, even on the very smaller level, we're doing it the same way. We're not just doing something where we go to, like, say, CAO and say, like, hey, out of your, like, what house brands do you get, or house blends do you guys sell? And you're like, oh, we got a Connecticut, Cameroon, and so forth. And we're like, all right, we'll take the Maduro. And then it's just, you guys are doing a similar process where you're buying, so you have that in bulk. Where we're doing another blend that we actually blended with the factory, we run into the problem where it's like, hey, we don't have enough of that Mio Tiempo to get that quantity for you right now. If you would have ordered 3 weeks ago, we had it, but we used it already, and then so when you blend stuff, that's another thing you have to consider is which primings of the tobacco
Oh,
you're
yeah,
using,
for sure.
because it's going to be harder. And that's why some of some of the Lajero, and then you go up even like that 6 priming on some of those plants. It's not always going to be produced by the tobacco plants.
Right.
So you're running in. That's a gamble you take. But sometimes you can have these killer blends, but then you try to do it on your scale. I mean, like we were talking about, we're waiting on 1,000 cigars right now. And like on our orders, we do typically 1,000 to 3,000, which is not bad for a shop for one location to sell it. But when you're doing worldwide distribution of something, yeah, you're going to the millions.
For sessions, I need to produce 700,000 cigars.
A year?
Just to launch it.
To launch it.
Just
Wow.
to launch it. Because we know we're going to sell that cigar. And so just to launch it, so yeah.
And if a cigar catches, like we've had a couple of catches this year,
yeah,
Black,
yeah.
Diesel Whiskey Row, big catches, that 700,000 is gone.
And
Quickly.
General
Immediately.
Cigar will never, because it's the
Yeah.
old Coleman's.
Yeah,
If it's not right, don't
we're not gonna
do
do
it.
it.
Don't do it.
We had a guest and viewer ask Nate. Nate asked, "What are the aromas
Very nice.
when you break down the cigar?"
No,
the
the
Pilon.
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 Aromas versus the taste of that.
Yeah, just when you're in the
When you're
fermentation.
physically
Oh.
breaking it down.
Just the aromas of the
Well,
Pilon.
pneumonia.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
ammonia.
ammonia is going to be overwhelming. But when you smell that tobacco, the tobacco that we're using for the wrapper is, to me, sweet. So when you smell it, it's going to be sweet to your senses. Yeah, so sweet to me.
Very nice.
But that ammonia smell is a bad one when you walk in there.
Overwhelming.
It really is.
That's a good guy down there who's a new rep and he
You've
goes
been-
in.
I haven't.
Bro, you need
Oh,
to go.
my
I know I need to go. I need to go.
I'm working. I went to Connecticut.
You just
went
heard
to
that?
Cuba.
You just
I
heard
would
that?
invite you to the DR, because I know the DR will show you everything. It's not a part of my relationship for the CEO, but I want to show you everything. So
Yeah.
it's hard to get a manufacturer to show you everything: fermentation, aging, processing, rolling in one house.
Yeah.
And the DR for General Cigar, we can do that.
And I also think I should probably go in the truck with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Jake?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I think everyone in the garage right now would say yes.
There's so much room on the bus.
I'll chaperone.
No, that's a gracious offer.
Yeah,
I would
but
love to
when
see
you
it, yeah.
see that, you understand, the fight we have to battle every day is you don't care. You're General Cigar, you're the big guy. All right, really? Because we have to work harder than the small guy, because we know we're going to be kind of looked at as like you don't care. So it's amazing. When you see these factories, you're like, you've got to be kidding me. These guys, the passion, the love that they share with you, you see it.
Who's our tobacco buyer that
Ernest.
Yeah.
Ernest.
So I met him at one of our sales meetings, and the guy sat me down for like 3 hours. This guy's going into Cameroon, Africa, and camping out on some lawn and
Oh, yeah.
going to meet all these farmers. And the passion he had was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I mean, just older guy, and he's got so much love and so much drive. Those kind of things, as somebody that's out here selling these cigars, it's the coolest thing to see in the world. And this guy's, the buyer for the biggest cigar company, or one of the biggest cigar companies in the world, and he still loves it like no one. And there's some shady stuff out there in some of these places. I mean, it's not easy living, going out to all these farms and figuring out, making deals with people and all the stuff you have to do. But it's really neat to
Cameroon
hear.
is kind of different from every cigar wrapper that we receive, because in Cameroon,
This is Cameroon, Africa.
Yeah, it's in Africa, yeah.
So you cannot have a commercial farm in Cameroon.
Right.
So Cameroon is grown by the local farmers. So they go to your house and say, how many acres you have? Half an acre. Really?
So we have a guy going around doing
Yeah.
this, going
So
to these family
here's
farms.
some seeds, and you can grow some tobacco. Go to the next door neighbor. How many? I have an acre. Here's some seeds. Grow it. And they have to collect it for every farmer house it, and then sell it to us. It's, Cameroon will go bye-bye, and the next, if General Cigar pulls out from Cameroon, that market would be wasted in a year. It will go. So we're now growing Cameroon and Brasilia to see if we can match that profile of Cameroon, because Cameroon is getting so expensive because the way they have to house it, the way they have to grow it, is one of the most expensive tobaccos in the world right now.
How does Fuente do it? I mean, I heard that they were trying to get into that as far as, because they utilize a lot of it. Like some of the, I'm not mistaken, probably more than anyone else.
Ricky's laughing.
No, General.
Yeah.
General does.
Yeah.
So I've heard Fuente but it is just their family one line, if you will. I mean, they do produce a lot of cigars, but there's rumor from what I've been told at least, that they were trying, I didn't know that part, that you couldn't commercialize it because they were trying to invest or try to get their hands on more, which I assume all you guys had tried to do.
Yeah,
But is it a government thing?
Yeah.
So you can't really work with the government. So they'll let you come in and buy from the families, but they're not letting anyone like set up shop there.
Am I wrong that Cameroon is Sumatra seed grown in Cameroon?
Originally,
Okay.
yes.
So, am I also wrong that some manufacturers might say that they're doing Cameroon, but they're actually growing it in Ecuador? I've heard that.
No, you can't do, because of the taste. The
Okay.
taste because of soil.
Oh,
it's
the
going,
flavors
yeah,
are,
so
yeah,
it's
so
gonna be
different.
different, yeah.
So you think Brazil, that's the thought, is that Brazil can actually
Right now,
produce a
Ernest
similar-
was
Yeah.
smoking some Brazilian Cameroon, so it is very close.
This guy's a
Very
legend,
close.
man.
So now that says to me, they need another 2 or 3 years of just growing and chopping down and throwing away and growing again.
to develop the soil?
Yes, to develop the soil and the seed to adhere to that soil.
Okay.
So it would take them about anywhere from 5 years to 3 years to produce wrapper.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, a lot of money, you just grow it and fucking throw it away.
But the idea here is that obviously that you guys could then commercialize and set up shop in Brazil.
Right.
And utilize that, and then all of a sudden you
They
could
would
actually.
do that same thing.
Yeah.
They would, because if we pull out of Cameroon will go away.
They just can't.
Because
No one buying it, so,
exactly.
yeah.
One thing in, General Cigar,
Yeah.
we buy about 65 to 70% of
Is
Cameroon.
Oliva a big buyer, I would imagine, in that?
Or does Oliva buy it from
Small
someone else?
percentage?
No, those buy the remainder, like Fuente and all that.
Yeah, so just kind of remainder of it, yeah.
We
But you gotta remember, we make cigars for a lot of people as well, so it's not.
Well, we have Partagas, we have Cameroon,
Yeah,
from CAO,
it's big,
we
yeah.
have, Partagas, Cohiba is
Yeah.
Cameroon.
Yeah.
The red dots,
Yeah.
Cameroon
Yeah.
wrapper
Oh,
is
yeah.
very popular.
Beautiful cigar.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's funny you guys were talking about too, that you were saying how much care and how much, as far as, the attention to detail and everything that General does with, and you break it down, you take it down to a person.
Yeah.
Which, so, I mean, that's a big part of it, is the building the relationships. But it's funny that Jake said, to me, it's interesting that, again, the parallels to the industries is what you had said about Woodford earlier. You know, how it's like, oh, it's easily accessible, it's everywhere, they're getting big and all that stuff. And like, you have some of these bourbon enthusiasts really saying like, Woodford's just not, I know John, you said that it was the flavor, as far as what you didn't care for, but a lot of people that used to like Woodford, they don't like it anymore, and it's almost like because more of the boutique distilleries are coming out, or there's more, and even just more bourbons are out, there's more selections and everything like that. It didn't get any worse or anything like that, but if you go to Woodford, I mean, you're probably still blown away by the process, about the care that goes into it, the detail, the attention to detail that goes into it. It's maybe even harder to do it on a mass scale.
Oh, yeah.
To take care of that. And I think that's lost in translation a lot of times. It's almost like, this is a mass-produced product now. And I will go back to that CAO side of it. When General acquired it, much like anytime General, Altadis, now Altria, now Swisher, like all these big companies, as soon as they get involved, there's a lot of people out there that smoke cigars that are just like, they were good, but now that the big boy bought them, it's like, man, they don't care. They're just pumping it out. The quality's not the same. It's not all that stuff. When in fact, a lot of times, it's actually, it's a higher level. not to dog or negate what the previous company was doing. Obviously, they were doing something right.
Right, we bought it.
Yeah, exactly. But now you have a bigger bankroll. Now you have a bigger production behind you that you can actually pump this up. And if, like you had said, that was an interesting take, at least for me, that as far as what you said about the CAO Brasilia. So you go in there and you're like, no, I don't like the process. But then as soon as you start tweaking, you're like, we can't change this because this blend is, you know, killing it.
Right.
And everyone's buying it. Yeah, it's like, so we're gonna have to go with it. We're gonna have to adapt and see where we can go with that. But that's lost again in translation to me, not to me, but like for me to other people that are smoking those cigars. As soon as you read that, they're just like, oh, I'm probably not gonna smoke CAO Brasilia anymore.
Ricky told me a story one time that he goes into the shop and a guy's bagging on a CAO cigar and it's just not the same, it doesn't taste the same. But Ricky went back there and got the box and turned it over, and it was made by the previous people, you know, it was before we bought it.
Yeah.
But you're right, if we bought anyone tomorrow, company X tomorrow, you'd walk into a shop and people would say, hey, it's just not quite the same. Yeah,
Right.
It's not. And I love the fact
All
that we
you
care
need
so much
to
about that
do
quality.
is change the band.
Oh, that's huge.
If you change, we just updated the band, destroys the cigars. Like, really, we took that band and colored it. You changed my cigar. No, we didn't.
And then the poor shop guys have to sit there and say,
Well,
no, it's the same, it's the Punch Campero Nicaragua, it's the same.
No, today it was the Punch Maduro.
Oh, yeah.
Raw shop.
Oh, yeah.
So that has been a staple cigar for many cigar smokers that have been in the game for 20 years.
Great
Right.
cigar.
And we have this guy that comes in, and that's typically all he smokes. He just got like 3, 4 of these, and he's not even like a well-versed cigar smoker. It's just this is what he smokes. So he comes in 3, 4 times, whatever, or a couple times a week, 3 or 4 cigars. And we actually held on to one of the boxes because Punch just went through a major rebranding.
Right.
And so to that point, it's literally sitting at the counter and saying, all right, I brought out both boxes. Just because we still have these are these are what you normally get. And then this, where it says Punch Classico now, and on the box it says Maduro, but it's a different band, it's called Classico. And just because that band's on there, it's like, if I would have just brought those out to him, he's like, no, those aren't the same. Those are lighter than what they used to be, or these don't taste the same. And it's like, I'm showing you old versus new, same product, and he was like, oh, okay, thanks.
PSA, we did not change the blends at all, we didn't touch them.
But as soon as he smokes that one, there's still that possibility of like, what else do you got?
Right.
Because this doesn't taste the
Get
same.
into another General Cigar, please.
Yeah.
That's
He likes the Gran Puro Nicaragua.
If you want to change the band, change the name. Go away.
It's big.
Because it's proven over time that you change the band, the box, anything, it's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. Okay.
CAO doesn't do a lot of change, we haven't had a lot of brand refreshes on that kind of stuff. I guess because you do such a good job. So.
I have a question for Ricky about, you kind of heard me go through my spiel, and even though it's not my job, about the aromas and the tastes and the notes and stuff like that, do you think that there are certain notes that comes with tobacco when you're blending, or are you one of those guys that you just know what you know? And
It takes good tobacco and bad tobacco.
Okay.
There's some tobaccos that will give, I know spice is going to be there, sweetness is going to be there, coffee notes, leather notes. So I know that, but to me, to say to you, popcorn
There it is.
with a finish of black note, red licorice. All right, if you taste that, bro, if you like it, good for you. I don't taste that.
Yeah.
I don't taste that. What I taste in this cigar is a cigar that I think, oh, that's good. I want to smoke another one.
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you taste black cherry or chicken or fish, I don't care. A leather belt. Like, when's the last time you ate a leather belt?
No, they don't eat it.
Yeah,
They
so,
lick it.
yeah, so what do you, yeah, so, you think,
you don't like your leather
belt?
belt? Jeez.
But I did
It's
take
typically a leather chair, actually.
I did take some dirt one time, so I know that taste.
That's how Brian at the shop always says when they talk about like the dirty, like Cameroon. He always says, You know, it's like playing baseball and sliding into third head first. When you get that's what dirt tastes like.
Right. But you taste what you taste, and if you taste, pair with, I don't care.
Yeah, I was just curious.
I know there's certain notes that you can definitely pick up. I know that. Black pepper, spice, and all that.
Yeah.
See, that's how I always describe it too. I mean, I always, like, being in the retail side of it, it's funny, people actually come in, I had a guy who's recently came in and he says he's getting into cigars. I said, all right, so he's like, I don't want anything too spicy or leathery or cedary and he's like, listen to all these things. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want something mild to robust. And I said, okay.
Wow.
And it's like, and again, this is different levels of education, different levels of experience. So it's like, I don't necessarily laugh, or I'm just like, okay, yeah, no problem. Let's roll with this. So then I'm looking at the case, and we've got 450, 500 different choices.
We may not be laughing, Steve, but our guests are.
I realize that. So, and there's other people like kind of listening to this conversation, and I'm just like, okay. So I point out, and I forget what I point out. I gave him like 2 options, and so he says, okay, hang on. So he pulls out his phone and he has a cigar scanner app. And he's like, okay, let me just look this one up here.
Okay.
And he's like, no, it says right there cedary, I don't think I'd like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Then he points at another cigar, he's like, that one looks good though. Doesn't look it up on his cigar scanner app. Like all of a sudden that logic's out. Like it's like he was just almost like trying to prove wrong. So I was like, well, what have you liked so far? He's like, how many have you smoked and all this stuff? He's like, I don't know, probably like 25, 30 different types. I was like, okay, what have you liked so far? He's like, not really any of them. And it was everything I had in me to just be like, I don't know if you like cigars, man. Like maybe you need to come up with a new hobby. But I didn't. I ended up making a sale. I think I sold him like 3 or 4 cigars. So I haven't seen him since.
Exactly.
I didn't like any of those either. So like, fuck it.
But to say something on that, like, I told you I smoked that cigar, my first one. I'm 22 years old. I come into the cigar shop the next day. I don't know shit. I don't know anything about cigars. And the guy that helped me out was so nice and so welcoming. Now, I didn't come in with a cigar scanner telling him I didn't like any cigars, but he was so welcoming. And that was a big gig for me. If he would have been an asshole and he would have been a jerk to me and made me feel like I didn't know anything, I would have never been in a cigar shop again.
Yeah.
So what you guys do is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Because if that guy has one good experience, if that guy has one good experience, and you can be nice to him and help him out, you've created a cigar smoker life, and we need them. We need especially young guys coming into it, and I respect and appreciate what you guys do, because if you guys are the ones, you're the gatekeeper to this industry.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something like Brad was saying from the audience, is that it's social. I mean, that's part of it. You were talking about the name of the cigar, where it's sessions.
Yeah.
Because you were actually going to call it what?
Garage. Yeah.
And why? Not because of Steve's garage, but because that had something to do with it.
My cigars with my friends in my garage.
Yeah.
And so that is where I go to share my love for cigars and share their love for cigars to me. So they're always pulling, have you tasted this one?
And that's it. It's the same thing.
I'm just going to say, I would really like a Bourbon BS cigar that's called the Garage.
Yeah.
Great. We're still working on the BS cigar company.
We can't even get our t-shirts out,
Yeah,
but we'll work on it.
So Ricky, have you ever had a random customer just show up at your house because you invite everyone? Has that ever happened?
I saw a couple of them booking flights
Dude,
earlier.
you invite everyone.
Yeah.
So when Ricky does an event, I literally trail behind him with a notepad and a pen.
Right.
And everything he promises to people, I write them down. And I
I
wasn't there that night. That's what I'm saying. So I send him an email like the next week and say, hey, dude, this is everything you promised.
And I'm
and
delivering.
he gets it done.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to share that story and you come through. Not, and he didn't send it. He didn't send it.
No.
It's more of a question.
Yeah.
No, it's just a question. I just wanted to verify.
Yeah, I remember taking the notes.
Yeah.
I don't remember sending them. No, but that's fine, because that happens all the time.
I know you don't remember because I didn't get them.
You don't know. My UPS shop loves me. Really, really. You give away more cigars than I think General Cigars sells?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
It's impressive.
Well, we had one of the Smoking Tat events, and you were there. You gave away a lot of cigars, but I'm not saying it like that. It wasn't the one where he was on stage and everyone buying a shot before he got on.
I've never heard about that. I don't know.
No, there was one. Yeah, you have. But there was the one where it ended up being Nish and Eric.
Eric.
So Nish
Cigars
was out
for
there.
the year.
Oh my God.
Cigars for the Year, that actually happened, but then I get the call from the rep, like, what did we promise? And then it got trumped the next year. It was like, all right, grand prize, next ticket that we pull has a trip to Nicaragua, you know, and you're going to come down and visit Eric and, you know, I think Rocky's.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we pull a ticket, comes up, 2 months later. Hey, have you heard from them? Like, I haven't heard from them yet, and all this stuff. And so then I'm here, I'm asking the rep, and he's like, let me check with Nish. And then Nish is like, what's Eric saying? And then it's like, what did we promise? She's saying now it's a trip for 2. I thought it was just a trip for 1 and everything like that. So that's why you have good reps. Because when you're in the heat of the moment and there's alcohol involved also, and these things are promised, it's like, it's no ill will. It's just literally like, yeah, no, we want to give you a trip to Nicaragua. We want to give you cigars for a year. What did we actually say? Because we don't want to go back on our word, but we don't know what our word was.
In my case, I just wanted to verify for myself that I'm not insane.
No.
That I didn't think that you wrote all that shit down.
And Brad was waiting on a box of, or at least a shipment of the Amazon basins too.
You're talking about free cigars?
Really?
He said sober.
All right, guys, everybody get with me afterwards.
Everybody on the audience, give them a fucking note. And,
I'm gonna get a pallet. I'm gonna get a pallet delivered to my garage here and be like, what is all this stuff?
Bro.
From Ricky to all of you.
Just share. Just share.
We'll do it.
I don't have a humidor big enough for this.
So we got a
humidify the garage.
A question from Mark Jeremias.
Yes.
He wants to know what the Spanish word for drunk is. Ricky, do you know?
no. Tell him to help me.
Well, he's listening.
Well, you know what it is? That's actually a story from Cuba.
It's just a joke.
So Mark was down in Cuba, and they were talking about different Spanish words, and they were sending us videos and everything like that. So they were asking, who was it?
One was lesbian, and one was drunk, right? Yes.
Both were Brad.
Oh, that's the Spanish
He
word.
is.
Yeah,
Brad.
Yeah, one of the guys that I think it was Club Havana. Well, Jesus, yeah. And he's like, hey, what's the Spanish word for drunk? And he just goes, Brad. A lot of mojitos that day, so.
There's no
So, getting back to that gentleman that came to your shop and was asking a question, I was in the shop in Dallas,
Okay.
and he has a liquor shop and a cigar shop, and they quit asking, what do you smoke? Now they're saying, what do you drink? Pair it. So they say, I love bourbon. Okay, you'll love these cigars. So maybe that's another way to get them to answer the question to help you understand what their palate is dictated. What do you drink? I drink a lot of scotch. Really?
coffee
Scotch,
style,
yeah. So
porters,
anything. So
Yeah.
that is
Get
going
an
to be
MX2.
something
It
else.
does
to-
help, yeah.
Something
Differentiate
else to help
that,
you.
yeah.
I do that at events all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I'll even go, what do you like to eat? Are you like spicy foods? What are you into? Because people's palates get affected by what they eat all
I
the time.
agree. I agree.
And what flavors they like.
Yeah.
Especially the younger generation, they're stepping up. They're not starting a Bud Light and gravitating
No.
to a Bourbon Coke. They're going to scotches, whiskeys. So
Really?
they're already
Tell me about it.
tapping their palate to these tastes. So as easy as if you love this, I think you're going to enjoy this. And so I think it's kind of neat to pair it with that.
Yeah. I was pretty pleased, like when I first started at Tinder Box with Steve, where before this even was a thought, when someone would walk in and they were talking about going over to Fido and having a drink, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes Steve would kind of pass them off to me if they were talking about a bourbon. And I would kind of pair them with a cigar because that's just what I kind of knew. You know what I mean? So it really is interesting and to hear that actually being put into practice, that's
you would be
awesome.
of value to that shop, because your knowledge of that will translate to helping these guys to select their cigar. Because gone are the days, oh, newbie, start with Romeo or Macadillo. These guys are
Something mild, yeah.
Now, my palate is ready for whatever you have, because I'm drinking this already.
But
So,
Macadillos are fantastic cigars. Inspirado that just came up. You know.
Well, I'll say what I like to do. Anymore, I'll tell you that the best for a newbie is a sampler from any brand. Right, so you've got like not necessarily like the dark and stormy, right? Because that's good if you know you like full-body cigars. But if you have like the world sampler, perfect. They've got the Colombia, they've got the Italia, Brasilia, and America. So you've got milder, you've got medium plus, you got a full-body cigar. That's the way to do it for someone maybe that doesn't drink or doesn't like. They just say I drink whiskey, and you're like, okay, what kind of whiskey? Well, I don't really know. I like Jack, I like Makers, but it's not necessarily because that's all they like, that's all they've had.
Right.
So that's where it's like, all right, so now you've got 4. I would recommend this for $26, $27, $29. You get 4 cigars, you came in looking for one. There's a retail side of it that obviously we win a little bit, but really, in a good faith effort, it's put a water pillow in here, it'll keep it fresh for about 2-3 weeks. So the next 2-3 weeks, you can go through 4 cigars. Do this. I'm not saying you're going to love every one of them, but being newer, you're going to be able to try them and come back in to me or come back into any other cigar shop with a picture on the phone with your top 2 out of these 4.
I love it.
And then you can actually branch out.
Yeah.
It's just about trying things. Like, you know, earlier, it's that you have to try things. And if it's not just the brand you don't like, it's certain blends, certain types of, like, if you don't like mild cigars. And that's the funny thing. A lot of the newbies, they do get steered in the direction of mild cigars, and they come into another shop and they're like, what are you looking for? And like, I don't know, I like mild cigars. The thing is, they've never had a full body cigar.
Right.
Because
their palate can handle that full body cigar.
Yeah, well, they had a full body cigar that was very spicy or very, you know, like has that dry bitter, and they're like, I don't like it, I taste it the next morning. And I get that line a lot where it's like, I just like mild because I don't want to wake up tasting it. Well, for me, if I smoke a mild Dominican, you know, Puro, a lot of times I wake up in the morning and I don't like the flavor in my mouth from that, where I can smoke a very full-bodied, like Nicaraguan Puro or have a San Andres wrapper or whatever it is, I can smoke that and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't have that linger as much as it is, so I think, again, that's characteristics of your palate.
Yeah.
Pretty much got a linger in my mouth every day.
It just never goes away.
It just never goes away. It's like Ron White said, you know, he gets pulled over, he's had that Scotch taste on his lips for 13 years. It's gonna be there.
Yeah, and for those that don't really smoke cigars a lot, you always hear, at least from my younger friends, right, that, you know, they see me do this and they, you know, want to try it, and they will have cigars and we'll drink whiskey together, and they'll text me the next morning, they're like, man, I'm like never doing that again. And I'm like, that's just because you don't do it enough.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's the other side of it. It's like, oh, last time I smoked a cigar, I woke up, I felt like hell. It's like, were you drinking?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Really.
I feel like you're missing my obvious point that I don't come out and say.
there's a lot of, like, just like mouth glued.
All right, we're saving it right now, Ricky and Jonathan.
Do you want to go into the topic?
Yeah, let's start it off.
Are we doing the
Dream job.
dream job? Okay.
You worked on your dream job.
I've been working on it for days,
So, getting into our topic of the evening, what we really didn't say at the beginning is like working your dream job. And I think that it's kind of we all imply here in the garage that you 2 guys are working your dream jobs. Is that correct?
For me,
Yes.
for sure.
So what, I'll have John start and then Ricky can finish. But how long have you been in the business? What led to it? And really, what was the driving factor to kind of push you into the direction, and what made you define your dream job as it is today?
Did you have a definition?
Yeah.
Well, what led me in first off was I was a member at a cigar shop and absolutely loved the camaraderie. I loved the people. For me, it was so much more about the camaraderie and the relationships than it was the cigar. The cigar was definitely secondary to me, and I thought a cigar shop was fulfilling a need or a void that we don't really have much in the U.S. anymore other than at bars. And so other than going and sitting there and getting hammered for 6 hours at a bar, I could go to a cigar shop, sit there with men, and everything was even. So you sit down at the cigar shop, and I could be sitting next to a guy making $400,000 a year and a guy making $22,000 a year, and we have a cigar and we talk, and it was amazing. I'd never experienced anything like that because we're so class divided in this society and we're so broken up. And so I'm a young 22, 23-year-old kid. I ended up getting 2 or 3 jobs out of the cigar shop. I'd meet a guy and he would need something, and I would end up working for somebody and doing something. So I had a really good career going with State Farm. Ended up getting a divorce actually, and didn't have any kids, didn't have a house payment. I was renting, very low cost of living. And one of my friends, Glenn Cigars, was a cigar broker, and he had been begging me like, hey man, come work for me, come do it, I think you would really like it. And so I went to my boss at State Farm, and they said, you have a job if you want to come back, but go follow it.
That's
Because
excellent.
this is what you love, and this is exciting to you, and you love the people, and you generally love people, so you genuinely love people. So I went out and did it. I worked for a year. You know, it was not a lot of money. You're a broker. You're struggling. I'm riding in my 2007 Kia, you know, and paying for my own gas, and you're like, oh boy. So it was tough.
lines.
Huh?
Yeah.
So I had Caldwell, Southern Draw, Mombacho, 724. So, and these brands, a lot
You're
of
working for another broker. You're not your own broker, is that right?
Yes, I was working, in a brokerage, yes.
Okay.
Working for a guy. And,
So that cuts in the percentage also.
oh, absolutely, yeah. And so he took care of me the best he could. He did a good job. And he told me when I started, he said, if you do a good job, in a year, another company will come and offer you. And he said, I'm not going to be mad. You know, you take the better job if you want it, or you can stay with me, whatever you want to do.
Great guys.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right.
So a year later, Christoph offers me the job. I worked for them for a year, and then I had to move up here for my wife's job and move up here. And as I was moving up here, the general rep left, Lee Whitaker, great guy, and he left. And the opening came open, and like 3 people general called me within an hour and said, "Hey, we got an opening. You're the guy. Come on, well, you know, send us your resume." So I sent the resume, hired in a couple weeks. So I have this job now that combines, you know, financial stability, company car, all these great benefits, the way they take care of me, with what I love, which is going into that cigar shop. You know, I'm not as much for, you know, it's harder for me really to work with some of the big conglomerate companies that are selling the 50 stores. What I love is going into that cigar shop and the relationships that you start. And so for me, like, it's a dream job because it is exactly what I'm best at. What I'm best at in this world is building relationships with people and getting to know people and really loving and caring about their business as much as I do mine. And so that's like my only skill in life that I know that I have for sure. And so it fits so well with my skill set that it just worked out really well. And so I think, to me, I kind of define a dream job as finding that job which fits your skill set that you uniquely have, maybe a little better than the average guy. And there are a lot of reps out there that are way better at it than I am, but that's my skill
Agreed.
set, and that's
Agreed.
thank you.
Oh,
we agree.
Yeah.
We agree. Oh.
But he's good. He's good.
Hey, Lee, we missed you. No.
Damn.
I'm at least the top 30 rep at General, I think.
Yeah, there's
And-
How many are there?
About
29. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I think that sounds, yeah.
It's amazing.
And Ricky, you were a rep first in this
Yes,
industry?
yeah, so I was hired by
1974.
I was hired by Dave Bullock,
Yeah.
the president of sales for Rocky,
Yeah.
and he was a regional. And so I met Dave in robotics classes when I was having my only child, and he was having the first child, and he was working for Netflix at that time. He said, "Bro, what do you do?" I said, "I sell carpet and wood floor." And he said, "Bro, you want a job at Netflix selling candy bars?" I said, "Bro, fucking sell candy bars." And so Dave moved away, and about a year later, called me back. He said, "Bro, it's Dave, Big Lou,
Yeah.
Big Boy. What are you doing? Still with the Nestle? No, I'm with B&B Baked Beans. You want to fucking sell baked beans?
Baked beans?
Bro, I'm not gonna fucking sell a baked bean, no. Or who do you sell to? Grocery store. Now, Dave, love you, but no. 2 years later, got another call. Hey, Ricky, Dave Bullock. Who? The guy with Nestle's, even Big B's. Yeah. What do you do now? I work for a General Cigar. General Cigar. Remember sharing a cigar with me, and the first baby was a Macanudo. Yeah, so they make it. You want to be a rep. A rep for what? The cigar company. Selling wood and carpet. Nah, bro, just talk to me. Meet me for lunch, and he hired me that day, and got me cheap. Got me. And
Did you take a pay cut?
About 50%.
Oh.
Yeah. And so
he sold you on the job.
He did, because he said, I'm going to give you a company car and all the cigars you can smoke. I said, Dave, I smoke one cigar a month.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a cigar smoker. He said, bro, you are the right person for this job. And he says, how much does it pay? Well, how much you make a day? We're fucking family. He said, bro, yesterday we were saying, Dave who? So, what do you, he said, what do you make? I make this. We don't pay that. I'll pay you 50% less. A company car and on cigars you can smoke. Dave, you got it. And I was rep for maybe 4 years.
For General.
Yeah, for a General Cigar. You know, so it is a dream job. So I know I was thinking about this. What would I do if I didn't do this? I don't know what
Yeah.
It changed my life. It changed my life. Like you, I knew I had the ability to talk, to gravitate people to what I'm selling, to believe in what I'm selling, and so it just took off. And it changed my life. So I have a job that my feet hit the ground every day. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What is my work? This, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting around, meeting great guys, smoking cigars, and just talking about these legendary stories that are shared from me to you. So from Ernesto, Chris Creel, to Benji, to Mr. Coleman, to Danielle Nunez, all these guys.
Cigar Hall of Famers,
Yeah.
literally.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, I will say, and that's the official topic is, what is a dream job? It's funny that that's anyone looking at Ricky, especially people in the cigar industry, or anyone outside of it really, if they see you now and it's like, oh, this is a passion, he loves cigars, he's a blender, so obviously he's known his stuff, and we've got people in the garage that that know what they like to smoke, they know the facts, they know where the tobacco is coming from, they can sell it and all that stuff, but when they look at you, they're like, man, that'd be a dream job.
Right.
And listening to that part, you smoked one cigar a month, you didn't really know shit about it,
Yeah.
and you were selling flooring,
Yeah.
and told the guy twice that you didn't want to do it, but it wasn't even about cigars, it was about other products. You're like, no.
Right.
And then you actually like, I do kind of like cigars. There's a little bit of that glamorous side of it, you know what I mean? Like, this
Because
is
my
a fun thing.
grandfather and grandmother were master rollers, so
So
growing
there's
up,
history.
Oh, wow.
growing up, it skipped my daddy's generation.
Yeah.
He never smoked a cigar in his life.
Really?
So I remember the aroma of cigars, and that aroma makes me feel at home. So when I smell a cigar, I'm home. Whenever I'm at, I think of my grandfather, my grandmother, that he used to smoke cigars. Those are happy times. So that aroma equals to be happy time. So you're going to give me a job and let me do something that I think of as happy? Bro, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so it changed my life.
Did you think though that you'd be a master
Yeah.
blender? Like you were like, all right, my dream job now. After about a year, you're like, man, I'm working my dream job. I'm a
was
sales
totally
rep.
happy
Yeah.
with what he's doing. I was.
But he was really good at it,
I
surprisingly.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
obviously, we all know that he would have been really good at it, but he was incredible. He was a
Yeah.
legend at General.
Yeah, I've heard some
His
stories
repping
about some
abilities.
of the events and everything that he was a rep and,
Yeah.
and how the box would fly off the shelf.
It's
And,
just if you believe, to everybody out there, I don't care if it's cutting hair, cooking food, whatever your joy, your passion is, go to it. because money is not the happiness that you think it is. It is this. And I can make more money if I leave General Cigars tomorrow and start my own line.
Mm-hmm.
But why? I'm happy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, do you make more money rocking? No, I can, but that is not my leading kind of goal, is money. My leading goal is friendships.
Yeah.
If I can make friends and share what I'm doing and allow you to enjoy your cigar a little bit more tomorrow than you did today, perfect for me. Perfect. And I don't care if you're smoking Fuentes, Padron, Cielo, I don't care. I don't care. Let me teach you something about what you're doing. It's a hobby. If I can share some knowledge with you and you can enjoy your Fuente tomorrow, my job is done.
Yeah.
And so it's his job to sell you the product, your job to sell consumer. My job is to share the stories of what we do.
Yeah.
And you translate it into a product too.
Yeah, and understand, Benji taught me, with your knowledge, there are 3 ways to talk to anybody. Number 1, down smoke. What do you need? How long you been smoking? 30 years. And you don't know the difference between a natural and Maduro? Really? And the guy's like, really? You made me feel like an asshole.
Right.
Or talk over him. Oh, because the soil, the pH level of the soil, bro, I'm not a farmer. Too much information. Or just talk to him.
Yeah.
And so I just try to talk to any cigar person that enjoys cigar. Let me share what I know with you. Maybe it will help you enjoy your cigar tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't care, really don't care if it's CL. I really don't care. The company cares. He cares. I don't care. I know that I pour my life into this cigar. If you like it, good. If you don't, I'll get you tomorrow with a new product.
I just want a quick Ricky story that taught me so much about this community and the cigar life. So my first day at General Cigar was the trade show, which is our big, huge annual trade show, and I didn't know anyone. The only person I'd ever heard of at General was Ricky. He's our cigar celebrity that we have at our company. And my first day on the floor, Ricky walks up to me and goes, "Hey dude, I know you don't have company card yet, you don't have this, you don't have that." He's like, "You're going to dinner with me tonight." I said, "Man, that's really nice. You know, the only guy I know here, the only guy I've ever heard of here," and he comes and does that. And I figure we're going out with customers or 8 or 10 people or something. It was just Ricky and I. Took me out, we got some drinks, we hung out, we went to the bar, and I know that Ricky had a lot of people that would have wanted to go to dinner with him, a lot of customers that would have wanted to go out with him. But he took the time as a brand new first day sales rep to spend that time to invest into me. And obviously from then on, CAO was a priority for me. There's no question about that. But it was pretty amazing, and the humility that he has and the actual love he has for this industry to do that when he could have been going and making money with someone else or doing something with somebody else was a really, really cool testament. And if I ever get to a higher level in this company or anywhere, it's something I want to remember. You know, when you got somebody new coming in, the way to treat them and the way to talk to them, it was really neat.
Was there a reason you did that, or do you think he was someone else?
I thought he's president of the company. I really did.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so, you know, I knew that the first time I approached Joe Floor, I was so nervous, I was so scared,
And I was.
so overwhelming. And I had 6 months on the road before I approached. I can imagine him approaching. Our first day is a trade show. Really? For General Cigars, you have to know all this new shit, bro. It's basic. Again, all I want to do is share stories that was passed to me from his father, his grandfather, down to us. This is a great business. This is a great business. And everybody's a great person. Now, every manufacturer I will have in my garage. Every manufacturer, but I don't believe in every manufacturer the way they do business. That's separate. So there's 2 guys that I think they put money first and cigars second. So I don't like that, but I like them.
Yeah.
I like them. So you are more than welcome in my garage, but I would never work for you because you put money first and cigar second.
here's what I absolutely love about listening to both of you talk about this is that mostly I think we talk about like the driving force like for most people. And I think that's what's talked about mostly on podcasts, and it's really, in my opinion, completely overdone. Where it's always like you're constantly pushing for your passion, like work as hard as you possibly can, always be like the hardest worker in the room. Well, that's great and all. Like, don't always push. I get that. But what you guys are saying is it's so much more than that, where it's not just about pushing. The grass isn't always greener, where it's like listening to Ricky talk about you could go make your own line and make a lot more money, but you're happy where you're at. And that's what people don't get. And I really do get sick of always hearing, you always gotta push, you always gotta push.
You push for what you want.
You push when you're not happy. When you're happy,
It's done.
you're still pushing, but it comes with the passion
Right.
that's already within what you're doing.
It's amazing because again, what we do is, it's unlike anything, you know, it's just bringing people together. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So I've met some great guys. I've met some assholes out there. Really did.
But here or out there? In here.
And here.
Let's just say everywhere.
Kevin's raising his hand.
Yeah, but you
That
know,
guy.
at the end of the day, 90% of everybody that we meet are great people.
Because you get weeded out of this community if you're an
Really
asshole for the
hard.
most
Yeah.
part.
To be an asshole in a shop,
They'll weed
it's
you out.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be, because you're an owner, you're not right for our shop. There's a lot of shops. Every time you come into my shop, there's a fight, an argument about something. Bro, take your fucking out there.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't, you know, so when I go to your shop, what I feel is home.
He told me that as soon as we got in the car to
Swear to
leave.
God, this is what I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know what you care of CEO. Never.
Yeah.
I never went to your human, hey, bro, he only has 5
Right.
lines. Don't care. I care about you.
Yeah, that's
If
amazing.
you call me and say, Ricky, I need an event, I'm there. If
Yeah,
I can't, I'm
you've
there.
said that before, and that's
Yeah.
amazingly gracious.
Or it's, to me, the owner first, because everybody has virtually the same cigars. The reason you pick one shop, he respects my dollars.
Yeah.
He
Steve talks
treats
about that
me like a king.
all the time.
That's it.
What's that?
You buy from people who you like. Or
Yeah,
like.
no, it is. It's people that you like. You buy from people that you like, and that's something that does translate. Everything that's being said tonight, Jonathan with you, and the opportunity you've had with this, and you, in a sense, you say that's all you feel like you're, like really good at. Well, people have told you that. There's also that level of comfort that you have with that. That for some people, they don't have that level of comfort. So for you to have that level of comfort, and then also be kind of supported by different people. Like you talked about 2 people that have given you opportunities at State Farm and then the brokerage that supported you and said, hey, you're great at what you're doing, this is a passion, go pursue it, you can always come back. Hey, I'm gonna hire you in the understanding that I'm going to lose you at some point, but this is gonna benefit you, it's gonna benefit me and the business and all that stuff. Too often there's a lot of companies that when there's a promotion up, especially in a lot of these corporate, but also small, it's almost like there's this discouragement or there's this resentment of like if a greater opportunity comes, it's like, that's great for you, but it's really gonna hurt our team, our company, our little batch of cubicles, like I'm a supervisor looking at it, like,
outside.
yeah, I don't want to, yeah, it's like, if I do, this is a great opportunity for you and your family, but however, this is really gonna put a kink in our cog wheel here. And it's sad to see that. I also want to say, like Jake's point, people that are being driven and they're always talking about going and focusing and going forward, all that stuff.
I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
I'm not bagging on you at all.
Actually, that just kind of came out. But I'm saying, like, I'm not saying these different terms that people use that even when you're happy, you got to keep pushing and looking to grow and grow the business, grow your income, doing all this stuff. A lot of times, what's not talked about is if you get to that step, you may actually not be as happy. So for
Oh,
Ricky
yes,
as example.
yes,
It's
yes.
like, all right, so now man, Rocky looks pretty comfortable over there. You know what I mean? He looks really comfortable. He also has a different work look. He also has different things that he is looking at.
Yes,
There is something where you're
yes.
comfortable or you're beyond comfortable, and you're like,
Yes.
hey, yeah, making more
Know
money
yourself.
would be great.
Knowing
Know yourself is a
Yes.
great part about that.
Really
And
is.
yeah, when we talk about what is a dream job, a lot of times it is that know yourself part, and that's what Jonathan was, saying, that this is something I'm good at. And that's something that makes you happy, Ricky, when you're talking about it, is that if you went to that next step for the money or just because you wake up and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna start Ricky Rodriguez cigar brand. And then 5 years later, I'm not saying you don't take gambles, but what is the reason for that?
Right.
You can stay driven in a similar role, and that's what happened. I love that part of your story, Ricky, is that you were doing well at what you were doing, then you took a pay cut because this might be an opportunity, and then all of a sudden you really are working your dream job, or what you thought was your dream job.
Leaving.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
six years later, there's a new opening, and it's like, hey, we want to take you out of your role. You're still going to be traveling. You're still going to do it. You're probably going to do more extensive traveling. Ricky was just telling me earlier today in the shop that he's got this trip they're planning that involves Asia, Europe, and everything else. I said, man, what is the time frame of that trip?
Right.
He said 5 weeks, and I'm like, God damn, man. Like, as a rep at least, like, yeah, all right, I'm pushing 7-10 days right now, but man, I can't wait to get back in my own bed. Ricky's like, I don't know when I'm gonna see home. I'm never gonna see my garage again. You know what I mean? But it's
That's
sometimes.
the only thing I miss is life. Because I've been on the road with celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries. I missed my 30th year anniversary in Europe. I had to go. And so I remember calling my wife and said, I'm so sorry that I'm here and you're there. 30 years.
It takes a strong woman to,
30, I'll
marry
pick it
us.
up. Baby, enjoy yourself. Those words to me, like the weight on my shoulder is lifted.
But if you do that 365, and for 30 years, and show that person who you are and how much you care about them,
Oh, yeah.
that is something that's almost like fabricated. That's another day, and you're doing what you're doing for her, for you, for the family, and everything else, and you're doing while you're succeeding. And the calendars didn't link up with what you guys had planned 30 years ago.
Right.
That's the reality of that.
It is.
You're working this job and you're doing this, and you're happy, and she's happy. And yeah, it'd be great to see each other more often. But it's like, all right, well, the option is to maybe get out of the cigar industry, and I'm going to go back to selling flooring, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, again, it may or may not be a dream job, but sometimes dream jobs aren't necessarily the industry. It's literally, hey, I want to be a manager someday.
Right.
Maybe I want to be a sales rep, but I'm actually frontline right now. And like, that's the great part about your story that I love for this topic and this discussion, is that a dream job is all relative on your frame of mind, of where you're at, where you've been, and all that stuff. Brad's one that I love hearing his stories and his career, and when he talks about when he was 25, 30 years old, he was working hard and had these ideas of where he'd be. But if you asked him now, do you ever think you'd be at this point of your life, career-wise? And he said, absolutely not.
No.
But he's absolutely loving it. The hard work paid off and all that stuff. But the dream job mentality, some people have this, I want to be a CEO of a company, or I want to be, this Hollywood, star, or I want to be a social influencer and all this stuff. And it's like, these are not things that are just, not saying that you don't have to shoot for the stars or shoot for that end game, but a lot of times it's taking those step-by-step things.
Sorry.
No, it's just that's exactly right, because if you take that step and what you thought was your dream job, being a cigar rep or whatever it is, now all of a sudden that's translated in that industry or another, just like you met that gentleman that you were talking about that offered you 2 jobs before this one.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, you might meet someone across the globe in the next 5 years, and all of a sudden when we're like, whatever happened to Ricky? He's like, oh, he's actually doing, working in textiles now over in China. And his wife's with him, and he gets to go home every night, but now he's got, I don't know what he's making that kind of crazy money right now, it's ridiculous.
But you know,
But it's awesome. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, go ahead.
are you done?
Yeah.
Not as a mean way, but
No, it's cool to see how it develops.
Most he was about to hit you.
no,
It's very violent.
No, it's just it's amazing because, like I said earlier, it's the relativity of the push is the way I like to put it, where you're not really initially pushing for something. It comes with the passion.
Or,
The passion builds on the push. So it's like the people that do say, like, I used to be that guy just because that's what I was always taught to, make a lot of money, be the boss, right? So when someone asked me when I was younger, I said, well, I wanted to be a CEO, I wanted to be a manager because those are the guys that make the money, air quotes, But within the last year or so, it's like, it's really defining who are you? Like you said, Ricky, like be true to yourself. And then as soon as you do that, then there's all these things that like influencers talk about and people that have a persona of leadership on social media and all this bullshit that say, well, being successful takes taking risks and making sacrifices and stuff like that. What they're not adding into the conversation is that that shit comes as soon as you define your passion. And as soon as you do that, you take the risks, you make the sacrifices because you love it so much that that's what matters to you at the moment. And that doesn't mean that the risks... At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, because if you gave me this opportunity when I was 25 years old, there's no way in hell I would be doing what I do today at 25, because my mindset at 25 was partying. So I would do my job, just another 2 hours, another 2 hours, and I could party. So it's the moment and the timing of everything that comes to you. I was chosen for this job because the moment was right for me to take that job.
Yeah.
That angels, whatever you call it, destiny, whatever you want to call it, that was, you need to take this shit.
Yeah.
Leap the faith of leap. Just leap.
How old were you when you took your leap?
40 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So-
amazing.
40 years.
And you had how many kids? Sorry.
One.
One kid.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 40 years old.
She likes him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's told me a lot of stories.
Baby girl.
Great daughter-dad relationship. But I was just, in going back to, how many of you have ever seen someone in a job, they were comfortable, they were doing a really good job, they get promoted, and everyone knows you're out of your league. You're not gonna do it. Yeah, and it's not necessarily ceiling, but this is not the time. You weren't ready. You weren't ready for that promotion. And so we see it all the time. And that goes back to what I was saying about the skill set. I think that a dream job is one that fits your skill set perfectly. And your skill set changes over time, so your dream job also is going to change over time. So right now, this is my skill set, this is my dream job. If they told me tomorrow you're going to be the next regional manager, I would probably take it, because it'd be hard not to take that because it's a raise and it's all that, but it's probably not my skill set at this time. I might need another year or two on the road to develop that skill set. And so I think the dream job is not necessarily looking at the destination, the end dream job, maybe. It's looking at this point in time, this is my dream job because it fits perfectly with what I can do and what I'm good at. And I think that's so important to learn, because I think we always just try to look at that end job and where we want to be. And I think it's so important to, where should I be right now?
I think sometimes that is the gamble, right? I mean, like, that's a great scenario that a lot of people don't always know how to do it, and there may not be a right answer. If you got that opportunity, literally tomorrow your phone rings, like, hey, we got a regional manager job. And now you have to make a decision. You're like, all right, so what does that mean for my personal life? Just got married, all this, right?
Yeah.
And then also it's like, I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. Yeah. But also,
To turn
do I have, to turn it down. Do I have the faith that so I'm ready in 2 years, but 2 years, this probably won't be here. So now it's like, all right, do I put another 5 to 10 doing what I'm doing? And then hope that something else comes along? Or do I take this and really just buckle down and try to self-diagnose, talk to other people, and actually put the effort in to be like, what am I not ready for?
Hey, bro, what are you smoking? Put that out. We're gonna smoke the new cigar. We're gonna smoke this.
I got it. Right.
Everybody wants a cigar?
Sure.
Hold on.
This is the new one, because I was smoking the test ones.
Is it concession?
Alright, so, alright, hold on.
Is that what it's called?
We have,
Concessions.
alright, so we have
The
three
concessions, I don't know
sections
about that.
and, Zocalo. So, excuse me guys.
Yeah, no, we got Ricky Claus in
Ricky's
here.
doing this, Ricky's doing what he
So
does best.
you need,
On
this
the
one?
audio here, we got Ricky walking around.
Oh, really?
Live studio audience.
But it's so, what you're saying is, it is so
Everyone's
tough
fucking
because
raving about
you
it.
get that offer, you get that, you know, you don't know if
Pick
it's still
one.
gonna be there.
I'll take this one because I've
The
smoked
fuck?
that.
Okay, I'll take whatever you think. Thank you.
Camera, Ricky.
Man, we're getting lucky.
Yeah.
I'll give you this one.
I just lit up a Pilone too.
You guys are
Ricky
listening.
got one, I gave him one of the sessions, yeah, and he got one right
Ricky.
there.
Alright, so, if you enjoy it, speak up. If you don't say anything. Don't say anything.
You grabbed
I know
that
who
one,
made
just to hand you.
I smoked
Yeah. But yeah, you're agreeing with it, it's fine, go ahead. Free reign here. It is difficult because you don't know what's the right decision, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know
what
that,
frame of mind you're in when that time comes, right? It's kind of like what you said, Ricky, like, if you were 25 and that
I
time
would be
came.
that asshole. You don't know the difference between natural and Maduro? Really? Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
But,
You know who I am, I'm the master
yeah,
blender.
yeah, so.
But it's funny because I'm 24. So it's like, yeah. So,
Explain that reaction.
33,
38.
38,
Really?
65.
No,
Oh.
60.
It's a great age range we have here. I really like that.
Yeah.
it's interesting because, I talk a lot about how, and we all talk about a lot how my generation, especially my age, are very, very impatient. I'm very impatient. I want it now. Like I want to find myself. I want to
My
find
daughter
dream
is
job.
26, so yeah.
Yeah.
Living your life.
And I'm sure she's struggling with her mental
yes.
aspect of like
Yeah.
what she's like trying to do with her life.
Because she saw me do what I love, and
Yes.
she wants that right now.
Exactly.
And I said, baby girl,
Took you 20
I
years.
spent 40 years learning what I wanted.
Right.
So patient, Dad. So when I say to her, you're not doing what I want, patient.
Yeah.
It took you 40 years to find, don't learn from me, learn for you, do it right now. So
Yeah.
it's.
Ricky, did you feel ready when you left as a rep to take over CAO?
No, I went to LaGloria.
Okay,
first.
yeah.
And so that was easier for me because I was working with Michael G.
Yeah, Michael Giannini.
Yeah, so I was working with Yuri.
Mhm.
And so we also had Ernesto for a year to
So, yeah.
teach us about LaGloria.
So for everyone out there, quick little history there is that Ernesto Perez Carrillo, who now you know, like he had a great accolade this year with the Encore Cigar of the Year for
Yes.
Aficionado, it's EPC. EPC is still on the Gloria Cubana boxes, but that's what Ricky's referring to, is that he came in after the acquisition and Ernesto sold to General Cigars. And that's where you came in and you got to learn because you had him on contract, if you will, for a year. part of the
Exactly, so
acquisition.
we had it for 5 years,
Okay.
and he had the 4th year's coming in. I'm going.
Yeah.
So prepare for that, and we formed a team called Team LaGloria.
Nice.
It was Michael, me, and Yuri. So I was the blender, Yuri was in charge of the tobacco, and Michael was in charge of production, banding, boxing, and all that.
All the
stuff.
marketing
All
and-
the marketing.
You're
And
still
so-
with us with
Yeah.
Gloria, yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, you know what? Be patient, struggle, and find you what you want. But when you find it, relax. Maybe it's not going to give you the money you want, but happiness over money equals so much more.
Yeah.
So much more. I've met so many people rich they can't sleep. Why? I'm all worried about my fucking money. I met a lot of people poor, they sleep like babies. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm doing my job, whatever the job. So whatever I drive, it's so I know Rocky has 3.
Chevys?
No, not 3 Chevys. He has 2, one Mercedes and 2 Aston Martins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say Rolls Royce.
Yeah, really? Very nice.
So, but
That's
We
what I
know
know
made a
about
lot of
too.
money before this industry
maybe
too.
he's happier. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I know this. I am happy for my family. I do exactly what I want. All I want to do is come home and have my grill going and my steak or chicken or pork or whatever cooking for my guys. That is happiness to me.
Yeah.
So,
But you mentioned family, you mentioned a lot of things about what you have to take care of. So money's not everything, happiness is it. But we've talked about on the podcast before where there are times in your life that you do have to make a rational decision. You do have to keep the roof over the head. You do have to, but again, like you mentioned, like you drive a Chevy. So if you fell into this, especially like you mentioned, at age 25, you were given this and all of a sudden you have this big bump in pay, and your first stop is, I'm gonna rent this big apartment.
yeah.
I'm also going to lease this
The fucking
luxury car,
Mercedes. Yes.
I'm going to dress the part through my finances, and then all of a sudden, you're screwed. And also, you're still living paycheck to paycheck, because you haven't done that. But if you had that opportunity, you had family involved, there's also an opportunity that you might have to be like, you know what, I can't take the pay cut right now. You know what I mean? There are,
Yeah.
So the dream job there is, again, is what your priorities are. So again, like you said, I think that's a big part of it. You talk about happiness, sometimes it's not necessarily the industry, as long as you are happy, you said, put both feet on the ground, and you're like, I'm ready to go to work.
Right.
It's enough
It's what
money
drives
for
you, it's
and
enough
your
money,
family.
absolutely, but that's your priority, is taking care of them.
Yes.
So that every job, and I don't know if you're gonna agree with this or not, but I'm gonna say it, I think any job that is a dream job or not, it becomes a job at one point, it becomes work.
Yes.
And in a negative way, it's like, you did not enjoy your Monday.
This
You did not-
aspect of it is still
Yeah, like you
work.
come home, or you're on the phone with your wife from wherever you are, and how was your day?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It was fucking terrible. I had this, I
7
hated
hours
this job
later.
owner, I had this travel problems,
Yeah.
all this stuff. You're just like, oh, it was fucking terrible.
It's the
But
day you leave.
that's it.
It's the day you leave.
Yeah.
And she got something else. Because I said to my wife, my feet to the ground, I don't want to go to work. I'm changing. I'll change on it. I put my wife through some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, some shit. And so she said to me, when I got the promotion, I knew you could do something you love.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for 25 years to find out what you love. And so now I'm happy. So it's, you know,
Well, my girlfriend and I were in our first year of dating, and I had a good job at State Farm, and she was already thinking, no, we're gonna get married, and he's got a good job, he's moving up to corporate and stuff. And I'll never forget, I come in one day and I tell her, you know, my friend's offering me this job, and I'm gonna go do it, and talk about 50% pay cut, it's probably worse than that. And,
It was undetermined because you were commissioned.
right, yeah, for the most part. And so I told her this, and she said, "You love cigars. You love people. This is perfect for you. You go do it." And it was a big sacrifice for her. I was going all the time. I'm still going quite a bit, a lot less with General. I mean, my last job I had 9 states,
Yeah.
so this is a lot better. But it's when you've got that woman in your life that puts that first. And they know that, like, if you're in a career that's going to bring you happiness and joy, they know you're going to be a better husband
exactly.
when you're there.
You're gonna come home
And
happier.
He asked me today, he said, how's married life? And I said, well, it's pretty good, but I haven't really seen her since we got married. I mean, I've been traveling, she's in Denver right now.
That is the secret to a long marriage.
Don't see each other.
Yeah,
But-
good way.
No, seriously, I know exactly what you're saying.
You need some
32
alone
years,
time.
Brooke, go away.
Yeah.
Go away.
You need that alone time.
Yeah.
It's a recharging time.
Yeah.
And then when we have time, we're not sitting there on our phones. We're not sitting there at dinner tired of being together because we've been together
Right,
9
right.
hours a day.
Yeah.
So when we have our time, it's good time. It's quality time. It's fun time. We build up to these weekends where we get to hang out and really enjoy our time. I love it. I absolutely love it, and she loves it too. It's worked out really well for us so far. So
for
That's also
me
a
to,
good idea.
all you need to do is go to your local restaurant and see that old couple that is, and they don't talk. Why? Because they're around each other all the time. All the time. There's no fucking stories to share
There's no
that
story.
I know about that story. So for me to come home, what did you do this week?
Yeah.
What do you do this week? We have stories to share with each other.
I don't share all of them. Do you share all of them?
But,
she's
you know,
still listening. Yeah.
success. I remember my daughter asked me one time, when do you think you were successful? I
Your
said,
daughter asked you this?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can answer that question right away. When I could go to the grocery store, take everything I want in that fucking basket. Because when we were first married, I remember one time that stuck out. I added chips and a pack of cookies. And my wife said, choose one.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough money
Yeah.
to buy both. So today, I can go to the fucking grocery store and fucking put in that basket anything I want.
Dude, I had the same exact realization. It was amazing. Because I grew up like low to middle class. Like at some point, my dad didn't have a job for 2 years, and we were struggling. And I remember all through college, I struggled. All through first few jobs, I struggled. That going to the grocery store and getting what you want and not worrying about it, being able to do that, it was a crazy feeling.
It wasn't my house, it wasn't my car for my
Yeah.
wife, it wasn't anything. It was shopping.
Yeah.
I want a pack of hot dogs today. Where are you gonna eat them? I don't know. Where the fuck? I don't know.
We'll put them on my
Well,
fridge.
yeah, so.
Another thing you were saying earlier about the money happiness thing, I feel super lucky because I was raised with my grandparents. On my mom's side were super wealthy, and they were bringing in millions a year and had their own business. And my step grandfather that started this business was probably the least happy person I'd ever met in my life. And I would go see him, and he was working 12-hour days, and he hated everyone and everything, and trying to get a penny out of this and a penny out of that. He would drive 6 hours to go to his mountain house to cut the grass because he didn't want to pay someone to do it. And he had everything you could imagine. He had a 10-car garage full of an English bar that was broken down and brought over from England to the U.S. and old cars in it. Everything you could imagine, every toy you could imagine. And he was so unhappy. And so I learned that lesson early on. I learned very early on that money did not bring you any happiness whatsoever. Comfort, being comfortable, being able to survive,
You wanted
brings
to pay your
brings
bills, you
Right.
wanted to pay your bills.
But man, I learned that lesson so young. So for me, money is just not a motivator.
I tell you what, frame of mind though, like that's the thing, is like, if he did not have all those $1 million, he'd still be a miserable person. Like you said, you met, people that were not well off, they were poor,
Very happy.
and they sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
And you meet really wealthy people that sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
It's all about what your priorities are, but also it's about being comfortable. And it's that the whole shopping cart thing that's amazing, but there are, you go to the other extreme and there's, the poverty where it's like, they finally got off the food stamps. And they have to choose. They have to choose like that chips or the dip, and it's like, one or the other. It's like, but I'm still buying it myself. So there's a level of pride there that I don't think you guys really touched on. There's a pride that you have been successful to a point where you are now doing what you like to do. You found what makes you happy, and that's the big thing. Is that it's not just about because he could have like 10-car garage. He could have filled 10 grocery carts a day. You know what I mean? Every time he goes there just to buy food to put in 10 fridges and freezers. But it's still if you're miserable, you're miserable.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes a job won't fix that, but hell, man, it'll help.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, as a young person, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
That's a good question.
Yeah, really, you
It's
want
a
to
huge
be,
question.
yeah, it really is. At 18, you're going to go to college. What are you going to do for the rest of your life?
The funniest part about that is I thought I had everything figured out, and then
Everyone does.
I think most men do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, like when I was in college, I used to, like you said, like you talk. There's 3 ways that you talk to people, and the kids that were my friends, and they they didn't really know what they wanted to do. Like honest to God, I thought down of them, because I knew what I wanted. As soon as I graduated, it changed. My passion went somewhere else.
Right.
That passion's gone now, as we speak. It's changed to something else. And now I'm really trying, and I think my next move is the risk that I have been needing to take all along, and which is my true passion. So
The leap.
yeah.
The leap.
So and I
Trust
think
yourself and leap.
yeah, and I don't think that, and now will that passion stay the same the rest of my life? Probably not.
No.
But
This right now,
I think that kids my age, or young men and women my age, don't value that enough, where they're not willing to take the leap because it's either too scary, money's too scarce. Like, I'm not saying rack up a shitload of debt, but if you do a little bit and you're still happy at the end of the day, that passion will grow into something where that will all solve, like the problems will be solved, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, so I don't know, but listening to you two, listening to Nate's story about like what, you know, him being a rep, listening to Ryan Honest with Alec Bradley,
that was a great podcast, by the way.
and numerous other guys and gals in this industry, it's pretty apparent to me that none of this just fell in your lap, but you guys kind of seized the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And it grew into something that was more than you could imagine. So I'll just say that to younger people, that it's important to not have a closed mind, see your options.
Yeah, but it took me getting a damn divorce to figure out what I was good at.
It's funny how that changes your life, huh?
It
Dude.
really is. Yeah.
No, I mean, I got this divorce and I'm sitting there and my whole life I've done whatever my parents had pushed me to do, or whatever my elders had told me this is what you should do.
It's
this
called a
is what you should do.
checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah,
You know.
and I got the divorce and I'm sitting there, you know, and hanging out and who am I? Who the hell am I? Like, who am I? What do I like? What do I
Yeah.
love? What am I interested in? My parents are incredibly conservative, religious people that smoking and drinking was never allowed in our house. For me to have a conversation with my dad and call him and say, hey Dad, I'm going in the cigar industry, and he's never known that I've smoked a cigar in my life.
Yeah.
And they were amazingly supportive. I was at Easter with them this year. They've always been supportive. They've always trusted me on these kind of things. But that was a tough conversation because I'd always been the good kid that did everything they told me to do and did exactly what I was supposed to do.
I love it.
Yeah, and so it was tough, but it was what I knew was right for me.
Here,
And I knew it fit my skill set.
I'm gonna kind of kick off the wrap up here, right? And the big thing is Ray Chester from Vietnam just tuned in. Morning, Ray.
I'll be there.
Ricky was, exactly, I was gonna say Ricky, if you're just tuning in, Ricky Rodriguez, CAO, I know you've smoked plenty of CAOs over the years. Ray used to be a regular at the shop going back a decade ago, right? So here in Columbus, but he moved out to Hong Kong for work, and then he's now happily married in Vietnam. And so Ricky's gonna be out in Vietnam, so you guys need to hook up at some point over social media. So, but then also Nate said this, and it kind of ties into what I was thinking, and this will kind of be my closing remarks here tonight, is that, you know, he says sometimes a previous bad experience can prevent you from taking a risk. Jake's talking about, you know, taking that risk and everything like that. I'm gonna go the actual, I guess the literal word of dream job is that a lot of times, like, you're working your dream job, didn't even realize this was a dream job, right? So sometimes it's not even on the map, and that's what you were talking about too, Jake. And I kind of bring in Nate's comment about a previous bad experience can prevent you from taking a risk. The biggest thing is that if you are looking at something that is literally a dream job, like you don't have the experience, you don't know what you're doing in that business. It's like, yeah, I want to be in the cigar industry and I smoke cigars and I like it, but you don't know the actual sales side of it. You don't know what you were talking about down in the DR, like the seed to actual cigar. You don't know those steps, and you have a bad experience in something that you thought was a dream job. You need to learn what gets you to that. So the steps that go along with it. There's nothing wrong with having a dream job in a dream industry and all of that stuff. Because yeah, chances are it'll change, But if you have a bad experience with that, I'll say this, learn from that experience.
Yeah.
What went wrong? Was it something you did? Was it something that the company you were with did? Something that happened along the way? It doesn't necessarily need to just stomp it out and say, I'm never going to take that risk again. And maybe a different industry, but it's what do you need to learn so that's something where, and again, this is going to be a little bit more of a Hallmark card, but where that dream can become a reality. It's not just keeping it a dream, like a lot of the younger generation where you were talking about, Jay. It's like, I'm going to do this someday. It's like, cool, how are you going to get there? I'm going to get there. And that's their response. And it's like, cool, what are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing in the next 2 years to get to that point? What's the next step? So to be a master blender, if that's a dream job for someone, for example, in a cigar industry, you may not just be like, I'm going to go call Rocky and be like, hey man, I want to be your master blender.
Right.
That conversation will be short if it happens at all. Now if you say, hey, I want to be a master blender someday, and I listen to this podcast tonight, for example, this is like that inspiration moment that you're talking about, Jake, as far as listening to podcasts and stuff like that. This is the point that you're saying they may leave out. What are the steps? What's the education you have to actually take? That's first. Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to learn from? Who do you need to, where, go to the library, go on factory tours if it was this,
Right.
go on distillery tours if it's bourbon, go to all these different things, no matter what the job, flooring. It's like, I want to be, this person I met, he sells floors and he drives a really nice car and he lives in a nice house and he has a happy family. That's what I want to do. You never know what inspires you, but it's then you have a conversation, you find out what they were doing before. And Ricky, you're a prime example. Jonathan, you're a prime example. I think I'm a decent example for people that think that working in a cigar shop and managing a cigar shop is a dream job, because for me, it is. And I spent 10 years doing a completely different career path that I thought I just wanted the next bump, and I want to run the company. As soon as I got to that point, my life turned into hell. And it was like, it wasn't just necessarily the job itself, but it was where I was at in life, to your point, Ricky. I was 30 years old and I had 120 employees and working for a husband and wife owner. And if I did it today, that outcome I think would have been different because of the things I learned during that part, but getting to that point now. So those are the things that I wouldn't turn that down based on a bad experience that happened. It's like, what did I actually learn from that? Maybe take a step back for a little while, but then reassess it and get better at it. And then also, whatever the industry is, I don't want to sell baked beans, but when it comes to cigars, that's one thing. But it's like, taking the pay cuts, that's one thing if you can do it. But when it comes down to it for me, it's take the steps and learn the steps that may lead to that dream job. And you might figure out your path will go one way or another. And if it hits that point, you're going to be happy no matter what. But you actually prepared yourself for that. So like, Jonathan, if you get that call tomorrow or in 2 years that, hey, I've got this promotion for regional manager, this is when you're actually learning about, like, what does it take if that call comes in tomorrow, and this is something that I want to do. It's not the fact that I'm not prepared. It's like, it didn't come in today, but I actually made a step towards that for when that call comes in, right? And I think that's my biggest part of it, is that I really think that you need to consistently learn of what you want to do and how to do it, so that when the opportunity does come up and you're not even expecting it, and it can be from left field, you're ready for it. So when they say, hey, you want to sell cigars? Yes, I do. I smoke one cigar a month. I smoke one cigar a month. I don't know shit about tobacco. Yes, I do want to sell cigars. Teach me, because I know how to talk to people.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. To end this, there's somebody selling something that really, your dream job is selling jelly? Yeah, jelly is my dream. So you never close your eyes because you know what your dream is. You don't know until you go to sleep.
Should I tell them what I'm selling, even though it's not my dream job?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jelly.
I sell grave plots.
That's cemetery.
Yes, cemetery. It's not my dream job.
I hope it's at a cemetery.
I didn't really clarify that, because they were just staring at grave plots like a cemetery.
That'd be weird anywhere else.
Yeah.
Wow.
At a
Okay.
theme park.
Okay, not my dream job, I'm just saying.
We're traveling carnival.
You're learning something about that.
Yeah.
How to deal with people.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to do for you.
I don't want to do it the rest of my life, I'm just saying.
Just go with life. Life is going to take you the direction it wants to take you. You can fight it or you can flow with the river. And I just chose to flow with the river.
God, I love that.
Because I did some crazy. The next time we get together, remind me a string.
Yeah, your first job?
Yeah, no, this isn't my first job, but
So you told me it was your first job?
It's not my first job, my first paycheck.
Okay.
String.
You can just say it, I think.
Yeah, that isn't explicit, you're good, you say fuck.
I
Tell the story, tell what your job was. This is
No,
what-
no, no, fucking.
I wanna know what this string is.
The next time,
No, tell it now.
No, the next time, Rick, the next time we'll talk about string and dicks. String and dicks, and if you mention that, I'll share the story.
And you earned a paycheck off of this.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, tune in next time when Ricky's in the garage. To find out what he tied to what.
Wow, what a lead in.
Can you top
Can you match that?
No, my final thing is to me, the best way to find your dream job is think about what you're best at. What is a skill you have that the average guy that you know doesn't have?
Yeah.
What is an ability that you have? What people have always told you, hey man, you're good at this. I don't care if it's you throw the best fucking parties that anyone's ever been to. There's a job in that.
Yeah.
Whatever that is that people have told you, hey man, you're really good at this. Think about how you can apply that to a job. And when you find that, that'll become your dream job because you're doing what you were put on this earth to do.
Yes.
You're doing what you love. You're doing what you're passionate about. And for me, what I'm passionate about is people and getting people together. And to me, there's no greater group of people than in a cigar shop.
Yeah.
And so, once you find that, I feel like that'll lead you into your dream job.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, it's great, and I think I'm the last one, right?
Yeah, man.
That's never.
I figured I'd throw a curveball at you here, man.
No,
Close it out for us.
No, it's great because first off, thank you so much, Ricky and Jonathan, for being on it. I mean, Steve and I have been looking forward to this for a really long time since Jonathan let us know about it, and it's been amazing to have you on. And I mean, what you guys brought, I mean that's just even the icing on the cake, right? And
That's more plans.
to try the new cigar, I know everyone should try it and make their own assumptions, but I freaking love it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that, I'm gonna say this,
Anybody out there?
I think,
Thumbs up. One thumbs up.
Who's
Five
smoking the
guys,
sessions
one-
out there?
Okay.
Nate?
I'm smoking something else.
Brad's smoking some from the tree. I'm more like smoking tomorrow.
I think the sessions is gonna give League a run for its money with the brand itself. And
Wow.
I'll take that.
That's what.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
I think it's really gonna mess with it.
It's a great group to be a part of.
So, but that's my 2 cents.
It's called the CAO Sessions.
Sessions, yeah. And I can't wait till we get in the shop because I want to smoke it again
We're
already.
gonna have to wait till August.
Yeah. But so, like, what do you want to do for your dream job? Steve, I love Steve to death, and he's more the analytical guy, and I think we both have he's actually got the philosophical background, literally, and his education. But I think when it comes to what we're talking about, I love the examples, Ricky, that you make, because there's been so much, even though I am so young, there's been so much of all I've ever known in my life is push. Pressure. And you don't let off the gas for nothing, even if you don't even know what it is. And I think that now, being 24 years old, within the last year, that I've finally come to terms with who I am right now. And I've said this a lot, and I'm sure that our viewers and listeners are getting tired of hearing of it, but I love the fact that you're finally on, and that someone with your stature says it, where
He's only like 5'8".
they go, like you guys,
Experience.
your experience, and your persona.
Yeah.
And everything combined, you say that life has a flow, and you can either fight it or join it. And either way, life's gonna win. So it's one of those things, and you can be happy about it or sad about it. And I think for me, my personal stance on it is that I totally agree. Where I've pushed for so long, I've done all the right things, and even at 24, it's like, no, it's time for me to make the decision. I get the chance to make the decision now. It's my choice. It's not your fucking choice.
Yeah.
Mom and dad.
Well, mom and dad, friends, the people that you admire, it's not their choice anymore.
Right.
It's mine.
It's a huge step, man.
And-
You took it earlier than I did.
It is.
And in listening to, I agree with Steve about saying that to plan for, as soon as you find out your passion, to plan for it. I get that. But I love the example of sometimes it just falls into place.
It is.
You may not, you've planned for sales, you can do it, you're good with people, you're good talking to people, you're understanding, you're compassionate. You can work on those things, and then something falls into your lap. And I absolutely love that example. And then life goes on, and then you're happy. And it's not about the fucking money. It's not about teaching people about what to do in their lives. It's just about the people in general. And that's what I love about this industry. That's what I love about the cigars. That's what I love about the whiskey. If Steve and I could do this 24/7 and make money off of it, by God, I'd be over
Sign me
here.
up.
Yeah.
Dream job.
Yeah, exactly.
Hashtag dream
But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Yeah.
So it's just, this has been an absolute pleasure
Absolutely.
and an honor to have you guys on and to have like our group here tonight and our audience and, you know, the guys and gals that view this, listen to this, we greatly appreciate you. Thank you, Tinder Box at Easton. Thank you, Altadis Cigar Company and BS Cigar Company, Brian and Steve. I can't wait for the Gold Toros to come back. And CAO.
Thanks, CEO. And General Cigars.
Thank you so
guys.
much, bro.
Thank you guys very, very much. And we appreciate all of you. And this has been a wonderful Whiskey Wednesday, episode 64. Please share, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.